Should we go out and come back in?
All right, we are started. We are now live on All Politics So Local, America's number one politically hip hop streaming show, and we are here, and because this is the first Friday, it is pastrami over politics. That's what we're starting off with, and so tonight is pastrami over politics with a side with a side of protest, and so we have at 6 o'clock. We have, of course, Pastrami Over Politics with Deputy Mayor Rahman Mohammed and Alturrick Kenney, who is also an elected official in the county, in the city of Newark. At 7 o'clock, we have Deputy Mayor Keesha Eure on how the Office of Violence Prevention de-escalates tensions at Delaney Hall. She will also be joined by Lisa James, who will talk about an event for survivors of violence. At 7:45, we're going to have protesters on from the Delaney Hall. Catherine O'Leary from Christi, New Jersey, returns, and they're joined by Mussab Ali of Jersey City, who was maced while protesting with U.S. Senator Andy Kim. And at 8:30, we have DJ Rhino, and of course, the State of Hip Hop. It will be a fun show, a lively show. We start off with the with our friend, with our good friend. Rahman Mohammed, Pastrami over politics, and of course Al Tariq Kenney. And pastrami over politics is great because we believe that people should, eat pastrami, a lot of it. And
Eat
I'm gonna
his
plug you right
pastrami.
now. I'm gonna plug you right now, right? The best pastrami in the state of New Jersey is at Big Rocks. If you have not had his pastrami sandwiches, you should have his pastrami sandwiches. I have eaten too many pastrami sandwiches because I'm always on that quest to lose more weight, but the pastrami sandwiches are absolutely worth it. So big plug to Big Rocks. If you have not been to Big Rocks, you need to go to Big Rocks for that pastrami. So hey man, for
What's
that
good with
pastrami
you,
and
brother?
politics. Good,
Yeah,
man.
man.
And also, when anyone comes to your place, you do get pastrami and politics. Like
Oh,
you
you
get,
actually do. That's crazy. You do. That's the truth.
yeah. Like I
You
come in
definitely
there,
get that.
and there's a lot of people there, and people just start talking, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And we
yeah,
start having conversations, right? So that is actually a feature of the place. If you go into Big Rocks, you will have the best pastrami, and you will have some really good and lively conversations, and everybody's welcome, right? So
yeah. No question. It's quite. We don't try to turn anyone away from here. Even the Republican candidate for governor came in, and that's why pastrami politics started because people was complaining that I would let uh, a Republican buy a pastrami sandwich. Like that's the craziest thing that I ever heard in my life. Like what I'm saying. I'm a business owner. I wouldn't care what your political persuasion is. If you come up in here, we're going to treat you like a customer. And if you want to talk, we're going to talk to you like a customer. And if you want to have a conversation about politics, we're going to talk about your politics. And no matter to me what color you are, what political party you in, I don't care nothing about that. You know what I'm saying? This is definitely pastrami over politics up in this place, in my business. Anyway.
okay, and that's excellent. So I do recommend that if you are in the area and you are looking for a really good sandwich, because there's a lot more than pastrami too. All that it is some of the best food that you can have, and no exaggeration. I go there too often. So what's going on, man? Are you smiling now to Kenny because you're like the truth? You know it's true.
Well, Tariq, man, always in my pockets every month, man, taking my rent money.
Oh,
It's one of the best sandwiches you'll find on the East Coast.
Yeah. Ah, that's funny.
Make sure you
What's up?
support.
What's good? What's up, folks? I see we got a lot about protesting tonight, and what's going on down there at Delaney Hall. So,
oh yeah,
Activism, man.
absolutely.
Activism.
I,
The
I
city of
want
Newark
that.
is known for activism, so that's what's happening.
Yeah, I don't know if that's happening down there, but okay. That's what some people say. I don't agree with that. I think there is people down there that's causing chaos too, and I think we need to remove those people. If you are not peacefully protesting, you should not be at Delaney Hall. We do not want to burn our city down. You know what I'm saying? We've been through the riots. We've seen the destruction and consequences of the riots. And, you know what I'm saying, we should not allow for agitators to come from out of town, from these suburban places that they were born and raised, some with silver spoons in their mouth, many of them, by the way, coming into our urban community and tearing it up. Like, you know, I don't, listen, we have to, because somebody said to me, oh, Rock, you sound like you, I'm not protecting ICE. I'm not protecting none of that. I'm protecting the city of Newark. Protest in peace. I've done it. Like, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to throw things. People don't come to rallies with gas masks. I'm sorry. I've led many. I've been arrested at many. I never brought a gas mask. I don't care what nobody about. Oh, they doing it. No, they doing it because somebody is agitating the situation so that can be dead. Like, we need to stop that. Peacefully protest. I have no problem with that. We don't agree with what's happening with the detainees. Heck, I employ immigrants. How many of them employ immigrants, by the way? Let me find out how many of them. I have 2 immigrants that work for me, and I pay them well. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, these folks claim that they care about these people. Man, these people are content chasers. Go look at their news feed. Every single time something happens, they hurry up and post it on. They get paid for that. And people say, who's paying them? Mark Zuckerberg paying them, Elon Musk paying them, whoever owns YouTube is paying them. That's how these people getting paid. That's how these people getting paid.
Now, do you think that you're overgeneralizing, and that, like, there's some people clearly in every movement, you're going to have agent provocateurs. You got people who are going to, I mean, that's from COINTELPRO, right? You have some people who are going to be pushing the line because they want to push the line, right? Or push at the police barricades because they're trying to push at the police barricades, and they're anarchists. There are people, and we saw that in 2020, right? But don't you think the majority of the people there who are protesting because they're mad? Like, there are actually human rights abuses going on down there, right? Like,
well, I just said that I don't disagree. I think the problem here is that when we don't point out the bad people, then what we do is, I'm not generalizing anything. I said there are some people in that crowd that are agitators. They are outside influences, and they came here to cause confusion. A lot of them are content chasers, brother. They have cameras following them while they're doing craziness. You don't see their pages? And I'm talking about on the right and the left of it too, by the way. You have the right-wing nuts that's out there stirring up the protesters so they can get content. And then you have the protesters, some of them stirring up the ICE agents or police officers or whatever so that they can get content. All of them, once again, being paid by their social media pages that they've monetized. I'm not no dumb. Yeah, some of them are. I'm not saying all. I'm not generalizing it, but we got to point them out because we don't want our city to burn, Jonathan. When during the George Floyd protest, when they were going around city, when they tried to come north, they put pallets of bricks downtown, man. Pallets of bricks so that people can throw it through windows. Like, we chase these people out of our town, by the way. We got them out of there.
And that was real, right? Like, there were constant conversations about how the Office of Violence Prevention and various other people from the community literally got in the way of various outside people in the police. Deputy Mayor Eure has talked about that. We've had conversations with the Chief of Staff, Mini Baraka, talked about that. You have talked about that. Larry Ham has talked about that. Many saw that in 2020, there was an influx of people who came to Newark, and they came to set fires, burn things down, etc. Right? So, but I think it's really important to have that distinguishing of, yes, those people have to be identified and pushed out, and they can't be tolerated within peaceful movements. I think a lot of times we make mistakes of trying to tolerate every voice that's there. And sometimes those voices are, we have to identify people who are literally trying to be violent and speak out against it and push out back against that within the movement. But I think that we always have to be I think the way we have to do it is, if you acting like COINTELPRO, then you should be treated like COINTELPRO. But given that, there were a lot of people who there was a lot of overreaction from the state police. We have people who got tear gas, pepper spray, people who were with the U.S. Senator when it happened. And, those things went on, right? So I think that I would I don't disagree with what you're saying in terms of, are there people who are provocateurs who are there? Clearly, we saw a clear video of people pushing against the barricades, and you saw one woman being like, "Hey, that's not who we are. But why are you pushing against these police barricades?" Right? But I think that I do think that the majority of the protesters, the overwhelming majority of them, like, see the human rights abuses that are going on, and that is at the forefront.
Yeah, and I think part of the argument, like sometimes you get lost in how like some of these movements are acted upon by citizens who are really angry about what's happening in terms of civil rights abuses. And so, like the argument for me is not about the reaction of the police or how people are protesting is the reason why they're protesting and why they're out there, why they decided to engage themselves. And so I think that's kind of what the mayor's been talking about. If you've been following his directive, is say, well, we can argue about how people are trying to organize themselves around civil rights abuses that are happening inside of Delaney Hall. And so this is how people are protesting. And I think where we can find alignment with, I think I agree with Rahaman, is that sometimes these organizations don't do a great job organizing people locally. And so there's a group of people who live in the city of Newark who care about the abuses that are happening not only at Delaney Hall, but throughout the county or throughout the state and where people are incarcerated. And so rather than wrapping themselves, around those sort of organizations that are doing things, it feels as if people are migrating to the city of Newark who really don't have a vested interest in the city. And so, yes, they're protesting the federal usage of law enforcement to attack Black and brown people, whether it is abroad or locally, but also it's their responsibility to invite themselves and also work with local organizations. And even if I don't have an agreement with the local Black Panther Party, that's an organization that's here in the city of Newark. I'm talking about the new Black Panther Party, led by a gentleman by the name of Thomas. But you actually have other people in the city who are doing things, who are involved in local reaction in terms of issues that are impacting the city of Newark or actually impacting residents who live in the city. And so those individuals who have been incarcerated by Delaney Hall are actually Newark residents. A lot of them are Newark residents. The mayor's been on the front line. Congresswoman MacGyver's been on the front line. Menendez and certain other people. And there are people literally here in the
MacGyver's
city
really been on the front line, right?
Yeah, and she literally put an office on line.
I think every time we mention Congresswoman MacGyver's name, we need to point out that she's facing 17 years for standing up for what's right, right? We are and being actually persecuted by the United States federal government, right? Persecuted by the United States federal government like it was 1972, right? Like the way in which they are coming after her is nothing short of like literal government repression. And it's not an exaggeration, because if anyone knows what happened in terms of the way the mayor was attacked, the case was thrown out because they were lying, but yet they pursued a prosecution against her. So yes, Newark has been fully vested in this, and I love the press conference by the mayor, and I do appreciate the fact that it seems like, looking at the overreaction of the state police in this, right? Like when you have a U.S. sitting senator who gets tear gassed, there's a problem, right? When you have, and even when our own police, right? Like when they're escorting MSNBC reporter like down the street, right? Like that's a bad look, right? Especially for us in Newark. What I think I love about the city response is the Office of Violence Prevention. We're gonna have Keesha Eure on later this evening, but I think that is a national we keep talking about national models. I think the Office of Violence Prevention is a national model, because that's what part of what happened in 2020, where when you did have outside agitators, and when I say outside agitators, I'm not saying that nationally, and I think you agree. If you believe in a cause and you travel for it, I got no problem with it, right? Like Martin Luther King technically was called an outside agitator. SCLC, they would go to different places, they'd be called outside agitators. But I do have a problem with what happened many places in 2020 when people were just trying to burn stuff down from place to place, or people who did not care about the impact on the local community and did not work with people who are within the local community. So I think that all of that I agree with. But I love putting the Office of Violence Prevention there.
Minnesota is still suffering today because of what happened during the Floyd riots. Go find it. Look at what the unemployment rate is going on there, because people decided to go into their city, outsiders, and burn their city down. And many of the residents, by the way, that lived in that community was trying to tell people, what are y'all doing? Like, we work here. These are our businesses. You know what I'm saying? And people didn't care. We allowed for it to get out of control. Listen, Keesha and them went down and did a great job, but now Keesha and them leaving. And these people are starting it right back up. Like, I mean, I'm sorry, folks. Yes, the message gets confused when we begin to allow for certain people in the crowd to cause chaos. They're not caring about them people there. You know what's crazy is, Alturrick, I actually agree with what Africa was saying yesterday, which pissed me off. I was upset with myself. I was saying, okay, Africa, you know what I'm saying? He was being interviewed by somebody, and he said, you know, he asked the guy, well, what's next?
Yeah.
And I said, you know, good goddamn question, Africa. You know what I'm saying? Because he's absolutely correct. What is the plan?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They don't really have a plan for these people. They plan for themselves. They got weapons. They got food. They got tents. You know what I'm saying? They got communications with one another. They got Red Cross people. They got gas masks. They got milk for the poor in your face if they get maced. They plan very well for themselves. But what did you plan for the immigrants that you said you fighting? What is the solution that you have for them? What are you doing? Because the best solution would be that you organize to get out here and vote so we can get these people out of office, so we can put people back in this office that actually care about immigrants. Yeah. Because the problem is that a lot of them people that's out there protesting right now, they're the main ones that turn around and want to do the 100% purity test on a Democrat who votes 90% with them and agree with them on one or two issues, and they don't want to vote. Or they go and vote the Green Party or some other thing, or write something in and turn around and allow for these other folks to get in office, and now they're upset about what they do, or they're shocked about what they're doing. So, I mean, the best thing to do is organize yourself. And Africa was actually correct asking the question, what's next? What's the plan? You know what I'm saying? What's the plan? The guy, and Africa said the guy told him to keep protesting, huh? That's not a plan.
Yeah,
that's not a plan.
And okay, and that goes back to, I think, why Newark has been special, and the Office of Violence Prevention has been real special, in that these are grassroots movements that grow up and they combined activism and politics, because they know that they have to be hand in hand, and they know that any movement has to have you have to have people on the inside and the outside, because else what are you trying to do? And for a lot of people, it is just burn it down, or clicks, or whatever, right? Or attention. But I think that there's or naivety, or just frustration, right? But I think that if your protest is not connected to politics, then you are doing something, but you're not doing nothing, right? You're not helping anyone. I think that I thought the brilliance of the press conference that the mayor had was that he laid out what was next for the city. Like, I do believe that they invite and welcome massive protests. Those are important. But what they're important for is so that people who have plans can implement those plans, right? As in, we are going to sue as the city of Newark. We're going to try to make sure that this gets done. We need that to happen not just in the city of Newark, but we need that to happen all across the country. At one point, during the interview, someone was like, well, if this gets closed down, wouldn't they just move people to different places around the country and make it less accessible? He was like, yes, that's a downside to the plan. They could be moved to different parts of the country. That would make it less accessible. However, talking to the people who were there, right, they would rather this place be closed down And they want people to organize around the country to do the same things we're doing on a local level so that those places can be closed down. Right now, people don't want these places within their communities. They're like, nah, you can't open up here. Even in conservative communities, even they're like, nah, we don't, we might want them locked up, but we don't want them locked up here. Right. So
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that the idea of what's next has to be like, what is your strategy connected to? If you are not working with churches and labor and politicians who you're trying to get in power, right? Then what is it that you're doing? I absolutely agree.
And so part of it is that, part of the interest is that we talked about local organizing. We need to know exactly, like you said, what is the next plan? Because if those individuals who are happen to be Newark residents who live in the region and they simply close the facility down and transfer them down to California, transfer them to North Carolina, transfer to the Midwest, then those local families lose access, to their family members who are literally incarcerated, locally in this jail. And I think what the mayor has said, I think what Cory Booker has said, and some of the politicians throughout the country said, we want due process. First of all, we want to stop the illegal use of the federal government and the use of ICE as a special arm of Trump policies without any regulations. And the second one that they argued about, we want due process, not closing and transferring, not closing the facility and transferring to a different facility. We want to make sure that each individual have their day in court. And I think that's been the issue. And I think part of one of the reasons why I actually have a pushback on some of these protesters is that who did you talk to locally, outside of this particular issue? Are you looking out for what's in the best interest of that family? But then the other part, I think, what Rahaman raised and even Africa raised, after you protest, and what's next? And it has to be wrapped around politics. It has to be wrapped around voting. It has to be wrapped around making sure that these sort of long-term systemic issues are not happening again, because the Trump playbook is just based on Project 2020. I mean, I keep saying 2020, 2025. They're doing the same thing that they've been doing, that they said they would do in their public policy piece. And Trump is just simply executing his policy agenda to simply use this arm to and also put funding behind it. If you look at the federal budget, they put, I think it was $1.8 billion into the federal budget to make sure that they hire more ICE agents. They do more, not even trap and release, but they do more using this as an arm to ensure that they're able to incarcerate people in democratic, health, in blue cities and in blue states. And also penalize so-called sanctuary cities. So this is sort of thing that's happening nationwide, and it has to be more than just Delaney Hall as a reason to protest.
But I also and let me push back on the pushback against protesters, right? Because I do think it's an all-inclusive strategy, right? Like, as in, our criticism of many of the protesters is it's not connected to political movements that actually are trying to get anything done, right? But politicians can't get anything done without massive political movements. Like these massive protests around the country that are getting media around the country, they are helping people who actually have solutions and want to solve problems. It's easier to negotiate when you got 2,000 people at the door mad, right? Like it is easier to negotiate that it is a problem that people care about that could get translated into votes when you've got masses of people in the street. So I welcome people in the streets, because the streets have to be there for any practical politician to get anything done. But I also am on the line of, there are a lot of people who we need to check ourselves, right? There's some people whose names you mentioned that I would not mention, right? Under any circumstance, because I don't respect the way in which they perceive their politics, which isn't, right? I'm always saying, if you act like COINTELPRO, you are COINTELPRO. So if you literally engage in violence against other activists, if you are someone who is a danger around you to other people, then you shouldn't be a leader of a movement. So there's some people's names I will never mention, because I think that that's part of the check that we're all talking about, right? People who are pushing against the line and being like, yeah, let's, push against the police barricade. Well, at a certain point, or let's burn stuff down in neighborhoods that aren't ours and have the repercussions there. A lot of those people, we understand how COINTELPRO worked, that there were people who were paid agent provocateurs, that people are literally put into communities to infiltrate. Now, we don't have any proof of that. You don't find that proof until years later with Freedom of Information Act. So my thing is, if you act like COINTELPRO, then we need to be treated like COINTELPRO, as in you don't need to be a part of this. We don't need to forefront you. We don't need to respect you as part of our movements. If you're there trying to push the barricades, well, then you're not welcome to where we go. You need to go, right? And activists need to self-censor the people who are most aggressively violent, even internally, right? Like people talked about the ways in which sexism works in movements, that the person who tended to be the most virulently anti-woman or most virulently homophobic or most virulently like divisive within the movement, the belligerent person, was often the paid person, right? They were often the person years later you'd find out, oh, they were plants, right?
Listen.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John. Listen, a protest starts with a grievance. It then goes into either struggle or your fight to change the grievance. And then it comes with a compromise or a conclusion. The problem here is that when there is a grievance, you have to have a plan or what is the end to this grievance. And the problem that I have with those who come to agitate at the protest is they really don't have a thought out plan. There's no real strategy to come to the conclusion or a compromise. It's just some of them come there to continuously doing what they're doing. Or, right now, because of social media, like I said, I call them content chasers. And they go over the country content chasing. Just because they're on the side of some of them, you have the ones on the right on the side of the issue of those on the right, and then you have the ones on the left on the side of the issue. Like I said, it's both of them out there, by the way. And actually, both of them was at Delaney Hall, too.
Right, Proud Boys were out there, too, right?
Yeah, all of them. Just look at their, their Facebook feeds and their social media pages. And, the things that do, the fact that a lot of them got cameras, like I said, following them. Literally, the agitators have a cameraman following them. While they're in the crowd doing whatever they're doing, agitating on the left and the right, by the way, to cause this chaos or cause the crowd to be involved in the chaos, and then they gone. And I'm gonna say most of the earlier ones aren't even at Delaney Hall no more. Most of the earlier ones that was out there taking video, the influencers that got millions of people following their page, or or from their platform, they're not even out there anymore. The ones on the right and the ones on the left, by the way. Now you're left with the protests, a lot still coming from out of town. Folks, we can't ignore that. I'm sorry, we just can't ignore that. And we can't allow for our youth, and we can't let them hijack the issue. And we've allowed for them to hijack the issue now. It's become about what they're doing. It ain't about the detainees and what's going on with the detainees. None of us agree with that. We would love for that to be shut down, but let's be very clear. The only way you're going to shut it down is by getting these people out of office that put it up. That's just the bottom line. Organize around that. That is the conclusion. That's the solution. That's the plan in between. What's next? That's what you have to do. And you're right, because the individual that you don't want to name, heck, he don't even believe that you're supposed to participate in the politics. So this is just an ongoing, like, we're just supposed to have these ongoing struggles. When I was a labor leader, I led protests. You know what I'm saying? When we wanted a contract, we protested for that contract, but there was a goal, there was a solution, there was a plan to get to it. I fought against privatization. We protested against. I got arrested for that. I got arrested twice for that. You know what I'm saying? But you have to turn around here and have an organized effort and a plan, a strategy around to get that done. They've hijacked the message because they want to turn around and chase clout, or they want to get views on their page. And the problem is that people done forgot. They done stopped talking about these detainees and start talking about them. Every article that's print is talking about what's going on down there. There's even New York Times, every single article they're printing now is talking about the people who's causing violence down there. First, when Keesha was down there, the story started changing. Now, last night, after people start letting up, after we started like, okay, we're going to give them a little bit more freedom, now it's about the violence and the chaos again. Where's the care for the detainees that they say they're down there trying to help?
Now, so the office of, well, before we jump into that, Zaid, you posted some comments. You were talking about the base of organizing in Delaney Hall. What do you mean by that?
I want to acknowledge and give credit and props to the organizers who've been down at Delaney Hall for almost a year, right? And it's the acceleration of the protests as a consequence of the detainees, going on a hunger and a labor strike. That just shouldn't get lost, right? I want to underscore that those are good people doing good work, and that work needs to be respected by all sides, right? Some folks have, and some folks have not, right? But that should not be that. That's not, the distractions and the detractors, should not be the center of these conversations. One of the things I shared was the last of 4 letters that miraculously got out, from inside Delaney Hall of the strikers themselves. I haven't seen a single article or news report, and I'm coming from a reporting lens now on what's happening inside, on the voices from inside, right? Those of us who are on the outside, we're trying to center the voices on the inside, because that's the primary contradiction, right? And those organizers are tied to short-term and long-term strategy goals and understand the place of politics and putting pressure on elected officials and want the goddamn place shut down. So I don't want them to be trivialized or overlooked or minimized in this, because it's simply not fair to them, and in the end it's really not true.
I appreciate you saying that, and I think what you're saying is spot on, because it reminds me of the Colin Kaepernick issue. Like, people were being shot and killed, and we were talking about taking a knee during a football game, prior to the token toss. Like, the issue has been lost. I'm sorry?
He did that on my birthday.
Oh.
The best birthday gift I ever had. Ain't watched a goddamn football game since.
And no one should support the 49ers because of that. But obviously, Rahaman is a fan.
Crazy. I'm a 49ers fan. We fighted, but we fighted.
Wow.
And listen,
got rid of it.
I want to talk about
you went there.
NFL Players Association.
But at least start with the 49ers at least.
We fired it.
That's cool.
We're not supporting.
I don't support the 49ers of today. You're right by Colin. But I think, but I wanted to say something about what you said, Jonathan, about, I think what Rahaman said is about the purity test, right? So I was looking at the election results. 12% of people actually voted in the county of Essex in the election, which has the highest, largest Democratic turnout in the state of New Jersey, based on just numbers. And I think part of it has to be tied to what we just shared earlier. There has to be a local short-term strategy and a long-term strategy. The long-term strategy for me is the electoral process. And I think I don't need someone 100 out of 100. I just need somebody to vote on the issues that I think are critically important, but also turn around some of the issues that's currently going on, whether it's Delaney Hall or in Minnesota, all throughout the country. And I think part of what's happening in the Democratic Party, you need people like these so-called agitators to wake up. And that's happening right now. I mean, Rahaman, the progressive movement that's happening throughout the country, where people are tired, frustrated, they want something different, want something new. And a lot of times, it's people on the ground are driving the politics that's happening, locally and also statewide. I think that's happening down at Delaney Hall. People are being organized. People are showing their frustration by showing up. And as long as we take the safe route in terms of how we organize, I think these sort of issues are going to happen. The only thing that I would love to see is that when you have these sort of movements that go from state to state, country to country, as they follow issues where they are, is just tie yourself to what's happening over the course of a year or longer, to organizations that are happening for short-term goals. If it's to shut down Delaney Hall, then that's one. Long-term goals, to help accelerate the cases that are currently waiting to be sat in front of a judge. The largest goal is, how do we get rid of ICE and not being used as a military arm of the federal government? And then we also need people in the federal government, whether it's Congress or Senate, to say, let's look at this budget. We can't support some of the issues that are being promoted in this budget for this big, beautiful bill that President Trump is proposing with Stephen, whatever his gay name is, Stephen Miller, are proposing with the federal government. I think that's the short-term and long-term thing that we have to focus on. But we can't be void of politics. We have to get people elected locally and also nationally to make sure the issues that are important to us, because this didn't happen under the Biden administration. And even though more people were deported under the Barack Obama administration, there wasn't no aggressive usage of the ICE agents coming out of the border, identify people who happen to look like you and I, to say, if you don't speak a language or don't speak with an accent, then we're going to ignore your citizen status. And I think that's what's been happening right now. And that's why people are upset and frustrated.
And let's look at it, right? They wanted to protest the mayor. This is what I mean about the purity test.
Yeah,
they had a fly. They was trying to go to his house. You know what I'm saying? We had to go there in case they showed up. I knew they wasn't coming. I knew they was bluffing. But I mean, you know what I'm saying? These are the folks who are some of the people who are down there that is taking part. Look at her attacking Mikey Sherrill. Like, this is what I mean. Like, because folks want order, because we don't want chaos. We want you to peacefully protest. I want the issue to be dealt with. But how you do things is just as important. Listen, I tell people all the time, the biggest mistake I made after doing it was, if somebody asked me, would you do it again to try to snatch the Bible during that the incident that happened at the council meeting? I told them no, I would not do it again. Because the consequences of my action, after thinking about it, could have been really, really dangerous to folks. You know what I'm saying?
Actually, can you actually, I don't know about that incident. I remember when you were arrested. I remember you were in Green Street. I just didn't know what it was about, right?
Well, it was about
you were talking about?
It was about the seat. Miss Bate was being sworn in, and I went to reach in to grab the Bible. And all hell, you know what I'm saying, pursued after that, where people got maced. I got maced. It could have been a riot that occurred in the council because of that incident, right? And so, I mean, wasn't my intent to put harm to people. That was not my intent. My intent was to stop the swearing in. But I didn't think my actions would do that. Now, I'm sure somebody, a lot of people, they wrote articles that called me bullies and called me all types of names. And you know what I'm saying? There were articles that, was out there saying I was a terrorist and all this craziness, right? Because of that, right? I mean, I accept that, right? But it's clear that wasn't my intent. I just wanted to snatch the Bible. I thought, we would stop the swearing in from happening. It wasn't my intent to cause the issues that happened. And because I know that, I would not repeat that. I would not repeat that because I would not want to risk other people getting injured because of my actions. You know what I'm saying? And so my intent was a good intent. I didn't want the individual to get sworn in because that would have been the fifth vote for Corey to privatize sanitation. And I was trying to stop that. You know what I'm saying? So my intent was a good intent, but it got lost in what I did. And by the way, we won the issue in court.
But okay, so that brings up a different issue and a different. I love the fact that you wear a lot of different hats and you've worn a lot of different hats in your life, right? Yeah. And we're talking about protest. You were a hardcore labor organizer, right? And part of what you did, labor organizers always skirt the line between civility and violence, right? The history of labor movement is a history where you organize inside, outside, but it is not a nonviolent. The labor movement has never been a nonviolent movement, right? Like,
you mean it is now. It wasn't back then.
The history. Yeah, when the labor movement was the most effective.
Yeah. But they were. But back then, though, they were being. But back then, let's be very clear, though. You had law enforcement that were being hired by company CEOs to beat labor organizers. So let's look at the history. So it wasn't that labor was not trying to be peaceful. It's that the bosses during that era, you know what I'm saying, were actually hiring thugs to do harm to the labor organizers. So it was a different reaction for them. So it became violent because of their situation. But right now, the labor movement, when we have rallies, we may have organized arrests, but they are even peaceful. You know what I'm saying? You can be arrested peacefully. Listen, I've been arrested in DC. I've been arrested in New Orleans. I've been arrested in different parts of this country doing labor rallies. We've organized ourselves all right, we're going to stay here. The police tell us to move. We're not going to move. When they cut up and say, stand up, put your hands behind your back, stand up, put your hand behind your back, and let the lawyers handle it from there. And that's what we did. So I'm not saying that you cannot be disobedient or you can't. What I'm trying to say to you, you can't push it to the point where your actions may injure others in that crowd that want to be peaceful. And by the way, we're drowning out the real message. What Zayed said. Like he's absolutely correct. It's not fair. I agree with him. There are people that have been going down there since they've been open, fighting for justice. And we've had a few clowns come here in the last month and just cause chaos where the whole conversation now is being talked about them instead of being talked about what Zayed said, the people that's been coming here fighting for the struggle, fighting to end what's going on there. Oh, and by the way, smart enough to understand that politics is tied to, you know what I'm saying, what the protest is about.
Yeah, and I appreciate the fact that you went from the all to now some.
I never said all. I said some. So stop. Don't put words in my mouth. Go back one thing. I said from the beginning some. So let's not
put the mustard on
we don't have to replay it. Huh? What's that?
We appreciate you moved the goalposts. We appreciate it. And you arrived at
Jonathan,
a few.
Please have to play the tape over. I know I said something. I don't know where these folks coming from.
You know I respect it. Listen, we appreciate it. And I so you know what's interesting, Zayed, you know what's interesting? I thought about the way they try to frame Keesha Eure as if she's Dan Freeman. You know, when Dan Freeman from the what was the movie called The Spook Was Set by the Door? Like she was hired by the government to suppress the organizing that's happening on the street level. Like Keesha Eure is a part of.
Is that a thing? People are saying that. That's
so. Like it was interesting because when I was watching the video when Keesha was trying to calm down one of the protesters, they said, "Well, who is she? Hey, I don't have to listen to you." And I'm like, Keesha Eure is one of your best friends in terms of in terms of how to organize and get people who are local to listen to your message. And the fact of the matter is, you're protesting the city of Newark, like you're protesting with a protest mayor. And so, like the things that he's trying to get you to understand is that they would rather have. And I talked to a civil rights attorney about the situation. We had a conversation with someone in the government. They said that rather than having ICE agents leave the facility to now start arresting people on the streets, the state police stepped in. But then the state police, when they stepped in, they used the same tactics that we are against in terms of the militarization of how to use force. And that's why Newark Police with the Office of Violence Prevention team, they came down there to say, well, before you even get to that point, we'll be able to try that because we train, we understand what the process is saying. We're not going to respond to what they were saying to Reverend Roundtree, which she is. If you ever go to war,
we can bring that one up, right? Because
if you ever go to war, that 4'11" woman is somebody you have on your side. Who stood out there amongst
we're talking about an incident where Reverend Councilwoman at Large, Reverend Roundtree, who absolutely believes in everything the protesters were talking about, is getting shouted down and booed by some random white people from out of town who are just like oh yeah, the privilege is dripping. You don't know what you're talking about. You literally should have a conversation with this person and they will literally help you organize within a place you are unfamiliar with. And she's out there being like, hey, let's talk. You want to talk? And they're just being rude for no reason because, and that's what I'm like, yo, that the person who was yelling, I was like, who's paying this person?
Listen.
That way I was like, who's paying this individual? Who's not training this person?
Hold on. I got some news for y'all because I just got a text message. So I just saw a video of one of these protesters throwing a rock through a worker window that's leaving to work, right? And I just got a text now from folks saying, "Rock, we all, now people want to organize to go down there tonight." This is what I'm talking about. We allow for these clowns to get out of hand, the ones that are acting like that, and they just take it too far. You know what I'm saying? Now imagine you're a worker coming from work and somebody throw rocks through your windshield. How would you feel about that? Like you just changed the whole narrative of what your protest is about. Sure. Your protest ain't against those workers that work at that facility.
Yeah.
They just making a paycheck. These people struggling to make ends meet. And you throwing rocks through their car window now about to cost them more money to go out here and get a windshield. Like, come on, man. Like, I'm sorry. We can't allow for those people to come in our town and do that. I'm sorry. I just can't agree with it. And as much as I would like, until we get them out, We can't. I can't because I know what they're doing down there, bro. I'm looking at their videos. I'm on their social media feeds. I see what's happening, and I just can't sit right and keep online for this to go on. Not in this city. We can't have chaos.
No,
I don't want to live in a world where we don't have law and order, folks. I'm sorry. I don't want to live in that world. There's a reason why I exercise my Second Amendment right, because I want to defend myself. I want to defend my family.
But again, we agree that people who are provocateurs, like, that's a bad thing, and the Office of Violence Prevention, what they're doing down there, I think is better than state police or even local police taking the forefront on a lot of these issues. Because just like in the 2020 I think we're talking about the way in which we recognize that the overwhelming majority of people who are actually protesting have been there for years. Many of them are local, many of them we know, right? And they're, doing forms. We talked about this before, like the mutual aid of giving services, right, to people who are also going up out there, right? Like giving them water or giving them different ways to get in touch with their loved ones or whatever. I think all of those things are good. And I think that is where the center is. I think that the focus on, like, the rock throwers, it has to be dealt with, because the goal of the rock thrower is to get police to overreact and create chaos.
Yes.
It is a nihilistic kind of thing. And I don't want to play into that.
And I want you to look at the video of who the rock thrower is and how they look.
Right.
When you see that video, because it's on the internet now, when you see the video, I want you to look at who the rock thrower is. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Like probably like somebody who's, dressed particular ways, looks particular ways, doesn't necessarily live here.
Well, don't live here. Let's put it that way.
Don't live here.
So Jonathan and Rock, I was actually me and a friend, we were actually at the protest about Sunday, about between 7 o'clock. And I just came to watch and observe. And it's interesting. I felt like I felt like I didn't belong there, because I'm not saying that, it's just because the people that were there were asking me where I'm from or were you part of the police, and I'm like, I live here. I live in the city of Newark. And I was listening to how they were trying to describe their plans of escape when it was getting closer to 9 o'clock. And they said we need to go up this way rather than go towards the other part of the city of Newark. And I'm like, you want to go to the port, or you want to go towards? It's just, and I'm like, the problem is that they didn't have a lot of local people at the time that I was there at the protest. And I'm sure, obviously, my small window of time doesn't take in consideration how long these people been there and how personal issues for them. But at moments in this protest, as Rahaman has said, is that during this protest, a lot of African Americans, a lot of Black people are the minority in these sort of spaces. And sometimes, they were, and I remember one time that a friend and I were we're there, watching the protest. Where are you from? Where do you work? What are you doing here? What about the issue that brings you to this space? And the one lady circled us 5 times and pointed to us as if we were a part of we were part of suppressing the movement, and we just observers trying to figure out what's going on so we can listen to people on the ground level. And I think part of like what Rahaman has said is that if we're there, we're telling people not to throw bricks at simple people who are workers. I remember there was one incident where a truck driver was simply going home from delivering garbage. He's been probably working all single day and simply just wanted to get home. And these people are starting to create to agitate people. And I think part of it had to separate the issue from people who are simply doing their job, who happen to work in the area that is not a part of this protest. And I think that's what Rahaman has described in terms of what's happening at this protest, and the message is being lost, right? And like Raz, Keesha are literally allies. They're literally fighting for the same thing. But I think, the way they're going about it in terms of destroying the city is just not something that people want to see, locally.
But I think that's the brilliance of putting in the Office of Violence Prevention, because that keeps things on track, right? Like I think the overall majority of protesters out there are out there for the right reason, right? Mm-hmm. I think that the people are taking up their time because they actually believe in it. There are legit human rights violations going on down there, and I think that the Office of Violence Prevention being there kind of helps quell that, because there are people who want to set off the police or set off ICE. And because, frankly, with ICE, we know that they're a violent organization. We know that they overreact. We know the state police is a historically racist, violent organization, right? Historically, right? Like in terms of the way they dealt with our community,
Yeah.
and they know one way to function, and that is how they function, right? So a lot of it is they are doing small provocations to heighten the contradiction so that you can see the actual violence play out, right? That is a strategy. Now, we don't want that strategy in our neighborhoods because for obvious reasons, right? We live here. We're not going away, right? Like we don't want our places burned down, which is why which is why I think that more people all over, like more cities need to employ things like the Office of Violence Prevention. And I think someone's stuff is in the background. All right. So I think we need to have more things like the Office of Violence Prevention because like it really gets the focus back on the reason why we're having these. It helps people who are really trying to organize peacefully, and it starts to put people who are in the mind of connecting the overall message with local politics, with national politics, connecting people. It puts that at the forefront. It starts to put that at the forefront again. But as for white people, a lot of white people being here, I'm like, I welcome. I'd rather have white people on the front lines of a lot of these movements, frankly. And I'm glad that a lot of white people are like, yeah, like during 2020.
But they
they need to be out there.
To take leadership from our people in our community.
Yes, absolutely. Like what?
But that's the problem, though. But that's the problem. White liberals have never wanted to take leadership from leaders in our community. That is the problem.
Right.
Exactly.
That's the problem here. Like, I mean, I was a part of the labor movement where majority of the members is minority. And you know what I'm saying? Once again, like the white liberal leadership.
That's a huge problem in the labor movement.
Huge problem. You know what I'm saying? It's some of the most control. They tell you what's best for your community, what you have to do, what you need to say. You know what I'm saying? These are people who have never went through your struggles that you have. Many of them only in some of these positions because of their status or who they know or who put them up in there. Very few of them actually came from the ground up. You know what I'm saying? But they trying to tell you what's best for you and your community, what you need to do, what you need to say. I mean, I used to, you know how many times I used to tell them, man, you don't write no speech for me. You don't tell me what to say. They blackballed me in the labor movement. One of the reasons why I left the labor movement, I was high up in the labor movement. Because they blackballed me. They stunted my growth because they know I wasn't going to be no kiss behind. You're not going to tell me what leadership is or what my community need. Or you're not going to do that.
Country.
That's been like that for thing. And then these movements, some of them same people, Zaiders in these movements. They on the front line. They down there. You know what I'm saying? We can't listen, man. I'm telling you right now, they are hijacking the message on what is going on. You know what I'm saying? Now, listen, this text message that's going on right now about getting folks that, like, that's crazy. So like I spend a Friday down on Delaney Hall because you got some few people that want to cause chaos. The mayor want the protest to be peaceful. Be peaceful. Do you really want the national? Because they talking about calling the National Guard, by the way. Now. You do know that. They just had an article where they were saying Trump is talking about sending the National Guard in. Do we really want the National Guard in the city of Newark?
We've been down there.
And there are some people, if you are an anarchist, the answer would be yes. There are some people who do want that because they want to create levels of chaos. But again, I don't think that those are the majority of people. Right.
Yeah, but we can't ignore them, though, John. You keep saying that, and nobody's saying it's the majority. The problem is that they've hijacked the message. We can't ignore it. We just can't ignore it, y'all. I don't disagree with you, but I now have a grievance about their behavior, the few that's there. I don't just got a grievance with Delaney Hall anymore. I don't just got a grievance with President Trump anymore or the rest of these folks who believe that he's supposed to treat immigrants the way. I don't just have a grievance with them now. I also now have a grievance with the anarchists that have been sent to our town to cause chaos, that we potentially may, because of their chaos, have the National Guard sitting in the streets of Newark.
Again. Right.
Like, we can't ignore that, folks.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we can't ignore that, man.
And I agree. And part of what I've continued to say is that we have, in all progressive movements, you've got to identify the COINTELPRO. and it doesn't mean that they're actually working for the government, right? Like we don't know. Like a lot of times that you'll not know. But based on certain behaviors, where you are overly aggressive, where you are doing things that are provocateur-ish, and you are causing like movements to fracture. Now that could be deliberate because they were sent, or it could just be dysfunctional personalities that are attracted to certain movements because of whatever's going on in their own lives that we don't know about. But either way, it's the same result. You gotta go. You can't be a part of what we're doing because you take away from what we're doing. And I think
Jonathan, you know
that
what's
is, I
going
think, your point.
Jonathan, you know what's going to happen if the National Guard rolls tanks in the city of Newark and starts selling them? You know what's going to happen? The content chaser is going to get more content for their news feed and their Facebook page.
We're gonna get their asses shot too.
You know what I'm saying? This is what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? We cannot turn around here and allow for things to get that much out of hand to have the National Guard come in our town. We just can't allow for it, man. I don't listen, man. My mother then would tell you. My mother all the time. She was just talking about this. You know what I'm saying? These are people that went through the riots. They was here. They was living during the riots, man. They experienced trauma. My mother talk about this all the time. Like, you know, they about to cause another situation. People that's been in this town before 67 that was old enough to know when they was getting shot out by the National Guard, looking through windows and freaking hitting the project windows and killing people and folks getting like when people get picked off and that bro, that stuff
that was real.
It's traumatizing. That's traumatizing to some of them people. And the thought of that being rolled back up in this town because we got some people that don't live here, by the way. Don't live here. These out place, they got Connecticut place, they got New York place. These people are coming from out of town. The problem is if that happens and they get too hot, they are leaving. And when they leave, they're gonna go into places that none of this is happening at. And we're gonna be left with the remnants of it. Listen, Dick, as much as I want to you know what I'm saying, just concentrate on what's going on at Delaney Hall. Unfortunately, those people that's causing chaos have just put a lot of attention on the chaos that they cause. And we ain't talking about the innocent people like when Monica was down there and the mayor was down there. It's clear what ICE did with them folks. It's clear they were the agitators. They were the aggressors. But we got people down there right now, left and right at Delaney Hall, causing problems so that they can get content on their pages and get views.
Yep, and I think that what you're saying is that that's got to be talked about, and I agree, right? And I agree that when you are dealing with every movement, every progressive movement that we have, and that we talked about, we were supposed to talk about the election, and we were talking about the county elections, et cetera, right?
Yeah.
But a few weeks ago, we talked about how there were levels of negativity in the last election went to a different level, or the way in which the way in which the attacks run are more than just a little bit aggressive, right? The different tactics that have been used. We see this a lot of times when people are like organized and they strike a way of being that is so divisive that they go into organizations like POP, or they go into organizations like and would create such discord within it as to fracture, right? And this is not unique, right, to Newark. This is something that happens throughout progressive movements, and they've talked about what to do in that case, right? So I think that this is a part of that. I also like the when you mentioned the way in which white progressives and white liberals exist within these movements always has to be checked. Now, I support white people being on the front of a lot of these movements. Like, come on out, right? Like, try to do the right thing. But at the point where when you're so arrogant in terms of, and you don't respect people locally, and you don't even know what's going on locally, and you can talk to like Reverend Roundtree the way you were talking to Reverend Roundtree, and who is an organizer, or Keesha Eure, who is an organizer.
Sister, I'm sorry, bro. I just want to give her some birthday love. Her birthday's today.
Okay.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Whose birthday again?
Roundtree.
Roundtree.
Okay. Yeah, happy birthday, Reverend Roundtree.
So I wanted to also just add a couple of things. Also, like we've seen this movie before. I mean, Zahid can also speak to it because he's a historian. But we saw what happened when Bob Moses had talked about through SNCC when people were going to Mississippi and white liberals wanted to be in the front of the movement rather than be a part of the movement. And I think Stokely Carmichael talked about it in the Black Power book. Kwame Ture talked about it in the Black Power book about how white liberals wanted to be the movement rather than be a part of a movement. And then sometimes the message is lost and you only talk about the reaction rather than the reason why the movement started in the first place. And I think part of what Rahaman is saying is absolutely correct. We can protest together, we can protest the issue, but don't destroy my community at the same time. And I remember one young lady I met who was actually a protester at and she's not, I don't want to make her the centerpiece of what the protests look like. When we talked, we had a conversation. She said that she lives in Manhattan. The people that's in her building happen to be, one is an NBA athlete and all these other people that live there. And I said, I would love for you to organize those people in your building about the issues that's impacting us here in the city of Newark or issues that impacted.
Not like people with money too. They need to give up some money.
Yes. And they have influence. Influence. Right, so use your influence, your access to tell your neighbors, knock on the neighbor's door, and talk about the issues that's happened here, rather than being in the city of Newark, to be a part of what some would call an anarch movement. And but I do want to say, as John said, I want to thank folks who've been out here raising this issue, because if it wasn't for some of the people out here who had good intentions, who are recognizing that the horrific issue that happened in Delaney Hall. To bring that issue to the forefront. So now this conversation is happening, but we definitely want it to happen in a very peaceful way as well.
And I'm like, bring all the people from New York here in terms of protesting, in terms of the right way. I think the protest and the size of protest are the things that work with. They give leverage to the politicians and the people who actually, and the activists who actually are fighting to get things done. The people who are in the room. So I always want to push back in like peaceful, massive protests. The white people coming in, no problem with it, but they need to have home training.
Listen, I'm going to end it with this, man. I've never led or been a part of a protest where I had to fight with the people that were protesting with me to stop doing what they were doing so that we can deal with the issue that's in front of us.
I know that it is. We have gone a little past time. We are actually waiting for one of our next guests to come in. But if you want to have, I know you said, I don't want to keep your time more than it is. But if you want to have, both of you want to have final last word, or just want to talk about something
about
something else, you can.
I want to leave with this on this particular issue. The issue is always about
the council.
The issue is always about poor sanitation to our detainees, inadequate food and water, overcrowding, lack of ventilation, and unsanitary facilities. Like that's the issue that people are fighting for. And I want to let's keep the focus on that issue. What's happening inside the gate rather than on outside the gate, because we have the luxury of going home. So do the protesters have the luxury of going home. We actually have the luxury of having our grievances displayed on national television and how we protest. But those individuals who are behind the walls, who have no voice except for those who are outside the wall to say, listen, don't forget about me, right? Yes, we understand that your rights might be violated or how you protest. But remember what made you and what inspired you to come down to Delaney Hall to ensure that our rights are protected and our issues are respected. So let's keep the issue on those issues: sanitation, ventilation, overcrowding, and the unsanitary facilities, in addition to not having their due process to be heard and to be respected as American citizens. And that's kind of the country that we're supposed to be a part of. And that's the country that people are saying this is what we should be fighting for.
Let's talk about our girl Donna winning. You know what I'm saying? Congratulations, Miss Donna.
Congratulations, Donna.
You know what I'm saying? That the impact that of the council, you know what I'm saying? I mean, we don't got much time, but I did.
But that's a great story. That is a great story of somebody who people just rallied around. Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it is. Listen, definitely a good story, and I know a lot of people. First of all, let's be very clear. There was an open seat because people talking about. First of all, she didn't beat. She started to exaggerate again. She beat against $15 million. That's just not true. No one spent. No one even spent $1 million in this race. I don't even know what Donna talking about. She beat against 50. Plus, we didn't have a fourth candidate, folks. Donna was the most popular person out of the field that was running for the vacant seat because we only were supporting 3 people, and Donna won the 4th slot. And you know what? Congratulations, kudos to Donna. And let's be very clear because I know people out there trying to take credit for Donna. Donna Jackson got that type of vote when she ran over 20 years ago. I think it was over 20 years ago. I'm trying to think what race it was. I tried to go back and get her exact
trying to
vote.
get her to run a for years ago.
Yeah, she ran for at large about a long time. I think it was over 20 years ago, but she got the same type of vote though, is what I'm trying to say. So those that's out there trying to say, oh, Donna always, those numbers were always going to be Donna. It's just there's a different level. There's a different number you need now to be at large. I mean, the highest at large vote getter was 8,700 votes. Before, in the past, when Donna ran the first time, you had to get 20,000 votes to be at large. So, you know what I'm saying? Let's put things in perspective here. But listen, kudos to the Congresswoman for winning. You know what I'm saying? She's on the seat. People, I'm not mad at Donna for winning. I keep trying to tell people, like, I don't have no hate relationship with her. I disagree with some things she says, especially with some things she said about me in the past. But, I mean, we don't have a hate relationship. And you know what I'm saying? I think this is actually going to be a learning opportunity for her. I think she's going to get up on the council and she's going to realize some things she's been saying is just not factual. And hopefully that she's able to now to go to the people that she's been saying some things to that is not factual and say, you know what, folks, I was wrong on that. You know, I got inside and I seen no, blah, 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 blah. Let's hope that happens. And if it don't, she got to understand that being an elected official, you can be liable. The city can be liable now for the things you say. So you can't just accuse people and say things about people anymore because now people will actually be able to sue the city for slanderous behavior. So you got to be careful. And I hope that whoever works with her, you know what I'm saying, that makes her understand it's no longer freedom of speech when you're an elected official. Now you're a representative of the government, and the government can be held liable for the things that you do or say. So I'm just saying, folks, you know, this is the time to come and learn and try to get things done. Oh, and by the way, you need 5 votes, meaning you need 5 of your colleagues to agree with you on something that you want done and change. You know, the only people because everybody I heard somebody tell me, oh, you know, Donna only controls the 5 people that work for her. That's it. You know, she gets 5 staff members. She don't control anybody outside of those 5 individuals. Let's be very clear. And to pass anything in government, you need 5 votes in the city of Newark, meaning she has to work with 4 other people to get anything done that she wants to get done. And I hope she does want to get some things done. And I hope she does work with those individuals. But working with them means that now you have to be honest about things. And now you can't call all your colleagues crooks and thieves. And because, I mean, I remember conversations where Donald, if a murder happened, she'd say, it's your responsibility. Well, now you're on the council. So if a murder happened in the city, Donna, people can come to the mic and say, hey, it's your responsibility. Like, I mean, listen, this is a learning experience. I hope she get up there and learn some things, understand how government works, and she able to get some things accomplished, because I think she could be there for a minute if she actually play her cards right.
Okay. All right. So we actually are trying to get her on the
Alturrick,
show.
what do you think about that? Or John, what do you think?
Right. You got to count the 5.
We're trying to get her on the show, right? Like, because I think that it's a good political story. I think that she has a lot of support. I think that on education, she says a lot of things on education with the charter schools and supporting the public school system. She has been always on point about that as well. So I think there's a reason why she got elected. That is also she does a lot of individual things, but she does a lot of individual things that help individual people. And you know this, Rob, because you work with her for years, right? Like you know that she's always like there are a lot of people all over the city who thank her because of she's literally done tangible things, like gone to them to help get paperwork filled out or so she's done that for years,
Yeah.
and which is probably why she has the large reservoir of goodwill. Despite things she might do that I might disagree with or you might disagree with, and I know your disagreement is more than just a disagreement, right? Like that whole Cheer federal investigation, because like that's something that's a different level, right?
Yeah,
And
no question. Right, right,
and,
right.
and,
I was
and you've got to
investigated
feel
by
some
those
kind of
things.
way about
Right,
that,
right, right.
right?
Well, I do,
Right.
I do. You know.
It's
But
like,
And
I
I
mean, I'm
understand.
over it though. I'm over it. But I mean, listen, I'm not a thief. So somebody calling you a thief when you know you ain't a thief is not really a big deal to me. But the fact that other people really were investigated, I wasn't investigated. No one ever came and talked to me. But they did go and talk to other people about me. You know what I'm saying? And it's just not, it's not cool because folks say things that's not true. You know what I'm saying? And listen, I'm over it, right? I am. Listen, I'll never forget that she was there for me. She was there for me a few times. When I was protesting, when I was fighting privatization, when I got arrested, I told y'all the story. Donna and Cassandra was at every one of my court hearings before I got there. You know what I'm saying? My office was their office. I had an office back there just for them too, to do the work that they were doing. So listen,
This is when you were union leader.
When I was the union leader, right? So listen, I have history with them. You know what I'm saying? And we had good history, by the way. So, I mean, there's a black eye on what occurred after I left the union, but listen, I'm forgivable for that, right? But I do hope that, and I'm saying, that she gets there and actually learns some things so that she can be a little bit more truthful about some of the things that she say. And that she can, because you know what, here's the thing to me, like a lot of people listen to Donna, and to me, Donna can reach a disconnected person who believes like the government has not worked for them or is not there for them. If she goes to them and say, well, you know what, y'all, I'm in there now. I see that blah, 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 blah. They have this stuff available. Maybe you should give this a try, blah, blah, blah. You'll have more people participating, I think, than if she does that. You know what I'm saying? I think you'll get more people in the system to participate. And like I said, I think it'll pay off for her. Well, she could be there for quite some time if she does that. She could be the Donald Tucker of the Newark City Council. Because that's what Donald Tucker was, really.
Rockman, remember this quote: "The same sword that knights you is the same sword that can say good night to you." And so part of, I know this is a hip hop radio station that's by the legendary Hove. Part of it is that I pray that the people who supported Donna will one, understand that she's a part of a municipal council. She's not a public advocate, in terms of her title. Her title is a legislative member of municipal council. She's going to vote on issues that the city, some people may not agree or may not understand. And hopefully they're able to learn, but as she will learn, as most people who go into elected life learn, that what you see on the outside is not the same as it is on the inside. And I think she's smart enough. I think her team, whoever she hires, are going to be smart enough to start framing that conversation in a different way. I think Donna's been running for council for 30, 40 years. She just decided to run in 2026, and now people trust her. While people who were running, there were 42 people running for elected office. A lot of people had to figure out how to frame themselves, how to describe themselves. And I think what Donna had was a brand that's particularly trusted, by some folks in this community who believe that they lost a voice, and they believe her voice matters. It carries. And so people believe Auntie Donna, is someone who is a trusted member of the municipal council. But I will hope that those individuals who knighted her as saying you're going to be a person that's going to check Mayor Baraka and check the municipal council are also going to realize at some point she's got to vote. And you can't always be a no vote to what the administration is pushing forward, because it might be good, or it might be the best interest of the city of Newark, and she might have to vote on it. And I will hope that I'm sorry, go ahead, Jonathan.
No, what I was going to say is I know that we went a little bit over, and the points that you're making are great, and we'll definitely have you back on to talk about all of that, right? That and more, the recent elections, etc. But we're transitioning to the next section. So thank you, right? For being on again for Pastrami over politics. It's always next time I am literally going to have to get a pastrami sandwich to eat on here because we got to do it.
Can you send some sandwiches down to Keesha? Can you do that?
Keesha, I think, is not going to be down here tonight.
Okay.
You going? You
Keesha,
going in tonight?
I will be
Y'all going
there
in?
tonight. My folks is on the ground already. I'm just
Okay.
getting my intelligence, right now. I just
Okay.
needed to breathe for 1 second, but I'm
Okay.
on my way down in a few minutes.
Rock, I'll go half for you for a tray of sandwiches for Keesha. I'll go half for you. Is
I
that fair?
appreciate that. Thank you.
I was planning on going to the house music festival tonight.
Well, make me some sandwiches before you get there, or send some waters or something, because we be needing some relief.
Got
I
it.
told you. All right. See ya.
Take care, everybody. We appreciate you, Keesha.
All right.
Absolutely.
Keep doing the good work.
I appreciate you, Alturrick, and you, Rock.
All
Appreciate
right.
you.
See. All right.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Thank you.
Take care.
All right, so Keesha, I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor Lakeisha Eure. Thank you for coming on, coming back, because you are a frequent guest on our show. And we have a full show with you on tonight. And we were talking a lot about the protest in Delaney Hall, and we can start off with that, but we know there are a lot of things that are going on. We know that there's the Office of Violence Prevention does a lot of stuff for a lot of people. And so welcome. I just want to start off with talking about what the Office of Violence Prevention is and how did they get involved with what's going on at Delaney Hall and these protests.
So thank you so much, All Politics is Local, for having me on the show once again. The Office of Violence Prevention directly is not involved, but it's just like my go-to when I need people on the ground. And so we are, as the Deputy Mayor for Public Safety, I am there, and a team, and we have a community engagement team that's there to give instructions to people and to the protesters, and to be able to help decrease the level of engagement with law enforcement so that it's not so aggressive. So there are people who are there. Some of the protesters are waiting for their loved ones to be released, and so they need instruction. So I get to say to them, their loved one is going to be released down there. This is the instructions. This is, where you should be. There are people who are there protesting and don't know where to park. This is the parking area. This is where the bathrooms are. This is what's about to happen. So really just being instructional in terms of helping people to know what to do. It's not around if you agree with the with the protesters. It's not about agreeing with ICE or any of those things, right? So my job, I used to be a protester, so I know what that is. And I understand when you have, protests and what's happening on the ground. So I'm putting myself in the shoes there, but I'm also a deputy mayor, and I have to make sure public safety is happening. So if people are burning things, then as a protester, I understand that's what you do. But on the other side, I can't have fires happening. We can't have people's cars being damaged. You can't fight the workers that are coming in and out or whatever that is. And so there's two sides, and people are saying that we are wasting the taxpayers' dollars, and these people are not from here. These people are not from here. The other day there was an arrest for 63 people that were arrested, and only 3 were from Newark. And one of those people was Howard Shaka, who is, beloved in the city of Newark with 2 other people that he knows. And so we have people who are here from Florida, from New York, from Minneapolis, different places, and they are here. Some of them are paid agents to be here to cause destruction. Some of them are, peaceful protesters, and some of them are waiting for their loved ones to get out. And so someone has to be there to be able to distinguish what is what we're doing, and to not allow people to be hurt and all of those things. So we're not protecting protesters. We're not protecting ICE. We're not protecting any of those things, but we are protecting the public safety because there's active traffic down there. We have buses, we have trucks that are coming through there. And so we don't want people to be hit by cars. We don't want things to be on fire. So there has to be some law, right? And some order in place. And so me and my team that are there as community engagement, we are a different face in terms of being able to engage with the public and with the protesters.
And it's interesting because your entire office, the way of thinking about your history as first as someone who protested vehemently against violence, right? And then as someone who started to create structures that would challenge police to do the right things and act in the right ways, right? So you brought that work to government to basically understand that police should do less, that you need other people to do more. And that is how you have true public safety, because you literally are a barrier between a militarized force and the public. What is that? What is How does it work? Like, a lot of people that may not know how the Office of Violence Prevention works in situations like this, to be that calming buffer to make sure that, you know, just like in 2020, that when riots are popping up all over the country, that it doesn't happen in Newark, right? But it also, there's no police overreaction, right? There's not a police overreaction that leads to other reactions, and so there's this cycle. So how does the Office of Violence Prevention break that cycle or prevent that cycle of violence from happening?
So you have some folks from the Office of Violence Prevention that are there, but we have violent people who are part of our Brick City Peace Collective, other community-based partners, other community-based organizations. We've had a meeting with the NAACP, People's Organization for Progress, Institute for Social Justice, Ironbound Community Corporation. So we're meeting and talking to a lot of our people who are social justice activists. And in that, we're learning what is happening in terms of different perspectives, Newark for Accountable Policing. So there's so many different partners that are involved in this, not just the Office of Violence Prevention. The Office of Violence Prevention is helping us in terms of being able to be community responders, to be able to help us de-escalate situations, engage with folks. But this is like a whole, effort, because we do have some people who were there that are from the city of Newark, and we're able to pull them out and say, listen, this is what's happening. This is what's going on. Can you help us to be able to lower the temperature on this? People are allowed to protest. I'm not against people protesting. I'm not against any of those things. People are saying, well, why aren't y'all at the county jail? Right? Or why aren't the people at the county jail? There should be people there too, because there's oppression and injustice happening there too. Right? And so this is not one versus the other, this versus that. At the moment, it's about how do we, calm down some of the violence that's happening. We saw on the news and some, the state police, tear gassing and people getting hurt and all of those things. This is traumatic to watch. And so because people are saying, well, they're not from Newark, they're not us. I get that. But also being on the ground and people not feeling protected, it's a tough place to be. We're watching people being arrested. We're watching, people standing up for their rights. But when we see people who are paid agents, we got to call that out too. We have people who are being paid to come here to cause havoc and destruction. And so we are trying to weed out those people who that is happening, who are the paid provocateurs and paid agents versus the people who are really there waiting for their loved ones to be released. I saw a little while ago, someone, that was just released and their loved one was standing there and they were happy to see them come out. Yesterday, we had a person who was wheelchair bound that was released. We saw another guy who was released maybe about a few days ago, and his children jumped all over him. So things are happening and people are deciding whose fight this is, who should be involved. But ultimately, I'm standing in the middle of being a conduit between protesters, law enforcement, and trying to make sure that public safety is happening for everyone.
That's really great. Zai, do you have any questions right now? Because I know that this is something that is also very important to you in terms of what you do, who you were with. We're gonna have a series of people who are down at the protest, who are protesting, some from outside, some from here, on next. What would you want to ask?
No, I'm not ask. If I got to ask questions, something wrong. Right? And I just, I'm proud of my child. I hate to see it in the middle of this mess because it's a mess, and the state police made it a really ugly mess, right? And it's an awkward position for them to have to be in. You're actually cleaning up somebody's mess, right? And the state
Can
police.
you break that down?
I'm talking about state police, Governor Mikey Sherrill gaslighting the public about them de-escalating what was damn near a massacre. That's what I'm talking about. They're cleaning up the governor and the state police's mess. And it's an awkward position to have to do.
Because you're saying that
no
the governor,
accountability. She is taking no accountability for how they came on that protest.
And that was right after we did our show last week, right?
We had Ryan on, and Ryan may jump on the next segment, right? Ryan was right there at Delaney Hall. Things were quiet. 15 minutes later, all hell broke loose. That was the state police. The mother fathers of racial profiling in this country. It was them. And a lot of people got hurt. Somebody could have gotten killed out of that. Horseback, tear gas. I know folks who were hitting with rubber bullets. You hit somebody right with a rubber bullet, you really putting some harm on them.
That's true.
And our folks doing community-based violence intervention got to clean up that mess. That ain't fair to them.
And that is something, though, that I think is something that everyone in the country, like Deputy Mayor Eure, I think that the work that you're doing is something that everyone in the country has to study. And I've said this for years. And being employed in this area, right, of actual violence prevention, and the thinking that you're doing in actual violence prevention in a situation like this, I think is novel, needs to be talked about, because you're saying it's about public safety, and it's about public safety to protest. And you were talking about paid agitators, right? People who are paid provocateurs. How common is the paid provocateur, like in your experience in what you're doing?
So I'm not sure how common it is, but we know that it happens, right? And so many of us have to study and know what is happening in terms of people who are paid from agencies, organizations. We have seen pro-Trumpers, come through and try to intimidate. We've seen pro-ICers. And so we have different people on every side of this: pro-Trumpers, pro-ICers, and people who are not. And so people are saying they're being paid to come here. And so that is a real place. And so it's not surprising. People get paid well to be agitators and to be provocateurs and to go into other cities to be able to cause, anarchy and to cause, issue. When we had,
and they're telling you this, they're literally saying we are being paid.
Yeah, that it's through the grapevine. When people were arrested, they're asking people, where are you from? We have people from Florida, Minneapolis, and New York, like all different places. And yes, they are being paid. And so we do have people who truly care about what's happening, but then we also have people who are paid. And so history has shown that this is a thing. History has shown that it's provocateurs, agitators, who are on the other side of this. So I don't want people to be misinformed around who some of these people are, and even the federal government. So we just have to, understand all sides, federal, state, and local, what's happening, and what side people are on.
So really, it seems like if there are paid provocateurs, the strategy is to instigate, like they might have welcomed what the state police reaction was, so that would cause certain amounts of violence. And if that causes certain amounts of violence or escalates, then Trump would be like, hey, we need the federal government to come down here, right? We need not just state police, we need the National Guard to come in. Do you think that when you're seeing, because you're actually seeing people who are paid from all over the country to come here. You're getting that information, and you're officially getting that information. Do you think that what you're doing is literally preventing, um, like, justification or pretext for the National Guard coming into Newark?
I'm not sure. I don't have a real answer to that question, but no one wants the National Guard to ever come. And so when folks say that, bring the National Guard, they don't know and they're not ready for what that really means. And so I would say I'm not sure about the National Guard coming in. With the state police coming in, we saw what happened when the state police came in and how militarized that was. Mayor Baraka jumping in to, kind of say, okay, we're going to be out in front of this a little bit more from the city, to bring in our police officers who have a little bit more restraint, who have a little bit more training around de-escalation, and are not going to, brutalize, folks. And so when we have these cameras that are here, we have social media people, we have press people who are not real press people, but they are social media folks. They are looking for a story and they're spinning the story in a way that is not true in a lot of instances. So we have to get in front of these stories. We have to get in front of these narratives. We can't allow these people to come here and tell a story that's not true and to take us back to a place that we're not at.
Now, what are some of the untrue things that are going out there that you want to dispel? Like, what are some of the major untruths that are being passed around social media? Because we've all seen a lot of different things being said.
Right.
What are some of the things that you want to highlight as someone who's on the ground, as someone who is working with a network of people to try to push public safety? What is the disinformation that you want to set correct?
So when you see most of the videos and things that you see is when it's volatile, and when the engagement is happening with the police and with the protesters. But there's so many, that time so much before that when nothing is happening, when the protesters are in a space where it's quiet or they're doing their protests and they're not engaged with law enforcement. The amount of time that they're engaged with law enforcement is a small amount of time, which may be 2 hours versus the 8 hours that they were out there. And so most times it's when the shift changes when the shift changes with the people who are working at the detention center is when you see the engagement, because people are coming in, they're messing up with their cars and things like that. And so that's when you see engagement. But the majority of the time, there's no engagement. The police are not outwardly brutalizing folks, but then when we see law enforcement, there's no distinction between who the ICE agents are versus the state police versus the county police versus the city of Newark police. People don't know the differences and what their purpose is being there. And so I think that the messaging has to just be different. I think there's a clip out there with me talking to the people to say, hello, everyone, all the protesters. At this time, we're going to lift the curfew. And when the curfew is lifted, I need everyone to stay on the sidewalk. And we're going to allow you to go down to the place where you can protest. Like, that's not shown where there's instruction happening. There's engagement happening. The porta potties are down there. Parking is restricted over here, where there is, speaking to the people in a way where they are being talked to as people and not just brutalizing them. And so the other side of it is people feel like, oh, well, they're not from here. Get them out of here. And they need to leave. And so that is a real place too. And there's people who are like, okay, let's get them out of here. We don't want them here. So there's a lot of perspective in a lot of places. But the people are not being brutalized or harmed and engaged unless they are destructing property. They've been setting fires. They've been flattening tires. They've been, fighting the workers. And so the protesters are not a target, but when they break the law and they're doing things, we certainly have to engage them to say, you can't do that.
Right. And I think also one of the things that even if you are protesting, that comes with it. If you engage, if you willingly break the law, the whole point about civil disobedience is that you submit to being arrested.
Absolutely.
Right? Like
Absolutely.
that
Absolutely.
goes along with it. Like the whole
Right.
principle of civil disobedience, which I don't know, which no one on this call is against,
Right.
is that if you break the law, you know that you are inviting to be arrested. And I think what you're talking about is making sure that the overreaction of the state police is not what you get, because the often the effectiveness of various protests is in, or the effectiveness of the reaction. Like if you're going to get a reaction and you want to heighten contradictions, then you see the brutality of the reaction, and that brutality of the reaction becomes the issue, right? Like the state police became the issue because the state police acted in a militarized way that they should not have acted. Um, I know that we have I don't want to spend the entire time on this because I know that there's another very important
Right.
program that you're talking about.
Right.
There is one question that I will ask, and the last question we'll ask on this then is, how did the office, can you tell us how you became involved in this part of the protest, and part of trying to keep public safety here? And is it any way related to what happened in 2020, where there were fires and cities burning all over the country, but not in Newark?
Well, ultimately, I guess my role is a deputy mayor, right? And public safety is what I do. But I'm also a social worker. I come from activism. And so you need to have someone on the ground in order that can see all of those things, that can be objective, that can de-escalate, that can engage with the police, that can engage with community. And you need those people on the ground. So I became involved because Mayor Baraka is involved. And when he is involved, then we are involved. But ultimately saying, we need some lighter heads to be able to prevail, who can talk to the police and who can talk to the people. And so that is, my role. My role has been to be the intermediary, between both, so that everybody gets what they need, right? The police get what they need, the protesters get what they need, and the people who are, being oppressed get what they need. And so that's how I became involved. That is my role. And if I didn't work for the administration, I would be out there in that role or capacity, possibly as a protester, but ultimately as a mediator, because we don't want people to be hurt and harmed. We have active traffic going on down there. There are truck drivers, there are bus drivers, there are people working down there that don't have anything to do with either side of this, and they're just trying to go to work and make a living, and they are being involved, and they are being harmed, or they're being impacted by the protests. And so in protests, we want everything to be impacted. And so that and that's the role of it. So I've been on both sides. I've been on the side of a protester, but I've also been on the side of government. And so I'm trying to, be the intermediary for when all things. And so we need to have some negotiation. Hey, protesters, this is a nurse for for Delaney Hall.
Okay.
Needs to be able to get out and get home. She's a nurse. She's a helper. Please let her out. Okay. We take one, we give one. So somebody has to be that. And whether I worked for the city or not, I would probably be that anyway. So that's how I've gotten involved, because it's just who I am as a person, as a social worker, as a de-escalator, but also as I probably have to go. I'm getting a lot of calls. Something is happening right now, so I have to close out right now.
Okay, and good luck. Be safe. Good luck. Be safe. Lisa James, we'll have you on, and you continue to talk. But be safe.
Okay, thank you.
Keesha.
Hi, Lisa. Happy Gun Violence Awareness Month. Thank you for your program that's happening tomorrow. I will be there. And thank you for always shouting out gun violence awareness.
No problem. Talk to you soon.
Okay. All right, so Lisa James, you are working with you came on this program. Zaid said that there's a really important program going on very soon. Can you tell us about this program that deals with violence? Because the Office of Violence Prevention does a lot other than mediate various protests. There's
Let me help this way, Jonathan. Lisa, I don't think this is your first time with us, but it may be.
No, this is not. It's
Right.
not.
I didn't think so, right?
right.
For the benefit of those who are hearing you for the first time, because we've got quite a broad audience, right? I want you to tell your story, you and your you know what you've been through with gun violence and how you came to build and create Hear My Cries, your organization, and how you come to do what you're actually doing with other gun violence survivors and so forth. Tell your story, then tell the story.
Sure. So, okay. So for those who don't know, in April of 2016, I was an innocent bystander. I was shot twice in the back by someone that I did not know. 45 years of age, of about 45 years old I was. Um, and it left me as a quadriplegic. So that's why I'm not on camera right now.
It's all right.
Um, so that happened in 2016, actually 10 years ago. And after 3 years after that, I lost my only son, my son Avon, to gun violence. He was murdered in October of 2019. 3 years after that, I lost my only goddaughter to gun violence, domestic violence by a gun. But after my son was murdered in October and November, right after his burial, the day after, I actually went to the office where Keesha Eure was once working at on Clinton Avenue. And I went and I said, who actually is running this facility, because I need a location. And she said, why? And I said, to bring families together that lost their children.
Mm-hmm.
I needed help. And if I know that I needed help, I knew the women before me and they was coming after me needed help. So, and from that day on, I started a meeting and I started Hear My Cries. While I was doing the meeting and while the women were showing up and we were telling our stories, we was hugging each other, we were crying, we was talking, people was giving us, we had people come in to talk and give inspiration, and I started documenting it. And that's how the documentary came about, Hear My Cries.
Yeah.
Women Impacted by Gun Violence. That was released in 2020 during COVID.
Yes.
So, and because I was a survivor and also on the other side to lose a child, I felt like my purpose was to bring awareness to gun violence. So, and that's what I have been doing since 2019, bringing families together that's been traumatized, talking to them, giving them safe spaces to talk, to be connected with other people that's going through the same thing. Because sometimes when your family member hasn't lost a child and you did, is a difference between talking to someone that did. So I continue to get calls from parents that lose children. Some lost one, some lost two, some lost three. When you get that call that says, I have no more children, Lisa. They took my last child. I was they told me to call you because they said you knew, they see what I'm doing. And because of that, I think that I inspire other parents that's been going through the same thing. No, I'm not a healer or anything like that, but am a ear and I'm a voice, and I can connect with other women that lost children and that's been impacted by gun violence.
Let me stop you right here because I want to modify your last remark.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You are an inspiration, and it's not confined to mothers who've lost loved ones. You inspirations to all of us who are trying to do this work and want peace in our streets, including a huge inspiration to me personally, right? I mean, with the harm that you face physically, it's incredible, miraculously incredible that you are doing what you're doing and have been doing it so consistently, given what you're facing personally. Everybody ain't built like that, right? And
Yeah.
so everyone who has come in contact with you, everyone who has called you, everyone who knows what you're doing needs to appreciate what you're doing and who you are and how you are able to do that. And when you bring other mothers together and give them a space to share their grief and their pain and be heard and seen and felt, that is in fact healing. It might not be clinically therapeutic, right? We might not have all those credentials by our names when we do that, but in practice, that is indeed healing, beloved. And I want to give you that props. If I don't do anything else between now and you doing your next thing, right? So now, tell
Thank
us
you.
about Where Orange, what's happening
Yes.
tomorrow, where it's going to be, and all of that.
So tomorrow at 11:30 a.m., we will start the Wear Orange fifth annual Gun Violence Awareness Day. That's going to be located at the Brick City Memorial Park. So it's not a big park. It's the memorial park that was built last year from Circles of Hope. It's right here on Bergen Street, 264 Bergen Street, right in the heart of Newark, Central Ward. And we'll be starting on time at 11:30 a.m. Wear orange. If you don't have anything orange, come on out early. You can get a shirt, an orange shirt, gun violence awareness shirt, or something to go along with it. So that's what we'll be doing tomorrow. We'll be there until 1:30 p.m.
Yeah. I'll be in Patterson tomorrow. We've got, I'm
Yeah, I'm gonna try to make it out there as well after
Yeah,
this one.
the Patterson Healing Collective is doing a road tour of kind in
Hmm.
four different locations at the same time. That's a national. Uh, Orange is a healing color in community based violence intervention, and June 6th is a national day of action around the whole question of gun violence and what that means. And so this, what Lisa's doing in Newark and my folks from the Patterson Healing Collective are doing, there are things like that happening all over the country tomorrow, all over the
Yes.
country, right? And Newark is, and because of people like Lisa James, Newark is out in front of that action, right? So I want to salute you, Jonathan. You want to ask our sister the ritual question. She's been here before. I want to see what she got.
Can I run through
Yeah,
the next upcoming event I got
yeah,
coming up in August?
yes, man.
Absolutely.
Sure you can.
Okay, so we have our fifth annual Broken Crayon Still Color event that I do every year. So it'll be coming up on August 29th, and that's going to be located at the William Ashby Center. Well, no, actually, not Broken Crayon Still Color. That one is October. So the one that's coming up August 29th is actually our trauma retreat that's coming up. That's going to be at the Ashby Center. That's for youth and families.
You've got a
So
trauma retreat coming up,
yes, it's gonna be at the William Ashby
and
Center.
you said you're not doing any healing, girl.
I,
Please.
I know. So yeah. So that one is gonna consist of we talk about grief, journaling, grief, how to process your grief. We also talk about unmasking your trauma. We have games, we have uh well, I wrote a couple of books as well. So I have journals out there. I have books that help guided activities for your mind. We also will be talking about what else we have going on. We have silent music therapy. We have uh, a couple other things. I can't think of everything right now, but we
That's a
have
lot.
more. We have more, and then in October we have our annual Broken Crayon Still Color event that's coming up, and that one will be held at the William Ashby Center as well. That one where we, like I said, we give people safe spaces to speak out, without judgment. Most people there are dealing with some type of trauma, And so it's for survivors, it's for people impacted by gun violence and traumatic grief.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
Very proud of you. Ask her the ritual question, Jonathan. Let's take it home.
All right. So, who is your favorite? As you're doing the work that you do, as you are just day to day, who's your favorite hip hop artist, individual, or group?
My favorite hip hop artist, I'm gonna say, oh, I got a few. I like DMX. I'm a DMX fan. I'm gonna keep it on. I'm 55. I'm a DMX fan. He's no longer here, but that music is still good. Tupac is good. Yeah, so I'm gonna stick with them.
All right, cool. And we will have to get you back before all of the other things that are going on. And we highly respect the work that you do, the very difficult work that you do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Queen. We appreciate you.
All right, appreciate y'all. Have a good one.
All right.
All right, take care.
All right.
Look like we got a bunch of folks coming up in this segment. Let's get them all in now. We'll see what we got.
We do. We will let you introduce this segment, Zaid.
Well, we've got an
It seems like we've had a theme tonight. We've been talking about the protests that are
nice added jersey close to Delaney Hall. The struggle continues, right? And I don't know everybody on the screen now. You got one of your students on here, but the folks I know, they've been making some noise, right? Ryan, good to see you back. Ryan was reporting to us directly from Delaney Hall last week, right before that mess with the New Jersey State Police. I know he got a lot to say. Ryan also was a part of a labor delegation that did their own solidarity action at Delaney Hall. We definitely want to lift that up. Kathy is back. Kathy OLeary from Christi, New Jersey. Kathy's been rumbling and has been one of the on the ground forces. This is something the point I was trying to make earlier, that have been there from the beginning, that have been the steadfast bedrock organizers, providing mutual aid to the families needing help, helping the detainees, and at the same time raising hell about ICE. Right?
And it's been on our show a few times.
Yeah.
Wait,
hold up. Let me get them all in there. Mussab Ali is a young man I've been watching a long time, right? A part of a progressive bubbling of folks on the left in Jersey City making moves in electoral space, and getting rid of that last mayor and replacing it with the new one, and all of them coming out of a similar left spaces, something to behold, right? Everybody ain't stuck with the fecal matter that's poisoning the Democratic Party. Some of them represent something different. Mussab was there and was a victim of ICE abuse right along with Senator Andy Kemp, right? And came back and is fully engaged in his community and represents a new voice for his generation in a electoral space that we need to hear. And I know you want to introduce Bradley.
Bradley Gonmia is a long. I know that. Well, I know him because he's a former student, former debater, and I know that he's very involved in much of this in terms of wanting to do the right thing. And I was watching video of the protest right around the time of it happening, and I saw Bradley, and I was like, "What's going on, man? Like, what?" So I called to ask if he was okay, because this was when the state police reacted last Friday, and like objectively, everyone's like, state police overreacted, like was what they did. I saw Bradley. First thing I texted him was like, "Man, you okay?" Because I'm seeing this from last night. And then I was like, "Want to come on the show and talk about it?"
So let's go around and let's get some input from folks who were there. Who do you want to start with?
All right. Well, let's start with what happened last week. Like Ryan, you were on the show last week. You were right there last week, telling us what was going on live at Delaney. What happened from the time we stopped talking to you to what went on?
So You can hear me, right?
We can hear you
Yes, we
good.
hear you well.
Okay. So I spoke with y'all, 10 minutes before this happened is when we
Crazy.
wrapped up. I actually spoke. I just talked to another one of the Eyes on Ice folks right before that about the interview, and we spoke for an hour about what was going on down there. And then out of nowhere, the state police said, who had been hanging around all evening, said basically started with that reading the Riot Act speech where they said, you have 15 minutes to leave the area. You're unlawfully occupying the premises, which, we asked what premises is this on a street? If anybody remains here, they may be subject to arrest for disorderly persons or a number of other offenses. And some folks walked over to the police car where the announcement was being delivered from and said, hey, is that everybody? Where are we supposed to go? Where are we allowed to be? And they would just not answer any questions. They would just tell you back away from the car. I have video recording of that happening. And
They wasn't de-escalating?
What's that?
No, now this new governor we got, Mikey Sheriff said they was de-escalating. Now you ain't see no I didn't see none.
There was nothing to de-escalate at that time. People were hanging around singing. I was sitting having a conversation with Gene from Eyes on Ice. There was nothing really going on. And I mean, you saw the recording from right before that period. So there, I'm sure you would have noticed a riot if it was in that video footage, right? So.
It was a mess. It was a mess. You're muted, Jonathan.
So what happened after that?
People basically scrambled in every direction. The folks were trying to figure out, like, okay, are we going to need to take these supplies out of here? Folks at the medical tent that were down the street there who had, water and supplies for, pepper spray, tear gas, that kind of thing. Because, we knew that the police were there in, like, serious force. There were, a couple hundred officers. There was a mounted unit that had been seen by the New Jersey Transit Garage. So folks were prepared for that. And it wasn't clear who was going to be allowed to stay in there, if anybody, what was going to happen. That right after that is basically, they probably gave more than 15 minutes, to be fair, when all was said and done. But when I was walking out of there, there were flashbang grenades going off. So, it was I have never seen anything quite like that.
It was ugly. It was ugly. Kathy, were you there then?
I just want to say that the thought I had when it was happening was Ed just asked, so Mikey Sherrill's going to keep all the protesters safe. And I'm like, I have an answer for Ed at this point.
Wow.
That was some
Yeah, I was there. I was there actually right before all this broke out. I was on the phone with the AG's office. So
You were on the phone with the AG's office while this was going on?
Yeah, right before it happened, I got a call from the AG's office. They let me know that, I should, do my best to try to communicate to all the groups. And I have no idea what groups are there, right? It's kind of, there's been a mass call, for just bodies to show up. So I have no idea who's in the street. Then I told them that, that I was supposed to help communicate out that, and I should know that there was a shift change happening at the South Gate, which is where the ICE agents come in and out. There was a shift change happening at South Gate, that the state police was going to move in to facilitate the shift change, and that we shouldn't be alarmed by the presence of the state police. So, 10, 15 minutes after that phone call, we see people starting to move from the South Gate north, which is towards where we were, and a large number of people. And then the state police, there was one of their cars came by, and they started, as Ryan said, we started playing this, or started saying over the loudspeaker, you have to leave. So I called the AG's office back and said, "What's going on?" And they had no idea. Like, they were just as confused as we were.
Wait,
So
so you were talking to someone in the Attorney General's office,
yes,
and the Attorney General for the state of New Jersey did not know what the state police were doing.
well, this particular person in the Attorney General's office did not know. Yes, that's correct. So, anyhow, so
That's
that
what
was.
we call in the show a mic dropper for the night. You talking.
Oh yeah, I got plenty more.
I know you do.
Yeah, but I mean, we're in the hospitality. We call it the radical hospitality tent. We've been maintaining a presence. We were there 24/7, through until Saturday night when we got thrown out. And by the way, I had to run with all my people that night. And I actually happened to negotiate to get my car in, so my car was there. So I loaded our people up as much as I could in our car. 2 other people left on foot, but we all got out. I drove my car partway down the street to where the bus garage is, and turned around to just watch what was going on. And just before I turned around, I started hearing explosions. And then turned around, heard more explosions. They were dropping tear gas. They were shooting tear gas canisters in the air, coming back down, and then they were shooting off flashbangs. And right before we evacuated the tent, we could see the riot shields, right? We could see the riot shields, the line of riot shields come in, and they were doing the thing where they bang on the street with the shield, and then put one step forward. They were all in formation, and right behind them was the mounted police, and we had seen them earlier in the day, knew something was coming, but everybody knew where the radical hospitality tent was. Like, I had been on the phone with the AG's office on and off. I've been, like Mayor Baraka came visited us, Councilwoman Roundtree came visited us. So everybody knew, and Phil Elijah, from Essex County came visited us. Everybody knew where we were, knew that we were there for the families, and just maintaining a presence because people were getting released.
And that's one thing I think that becomes really important, because I don't think that there were a lot of different protesters from different groups. And I think it's important to recognize that, you were providing mutual aid, right? Like, like it's Pax Christi, people know who you are. And this is, and it should be recognized. So I just wanted to emphasize that, because you've been there for close to a year.
No, over a year.
Right,
over a year.
right.
Yeah, we've been there for
you were
over a
saying.
year. Been here for over a year. And I got pepper spray with Andy Kim too, but that's another story.
And that was by
yeah.
ICE. You were pepper sprayed by ICE. And
Yes.
what happened with the state police?
With the state police, we had to run that day, and evacuate the tent. We came back the next morning, Saturday. That was the day that the pro ICE rally was coming through. But it seems like the state police was way more dangerous than the Proud Boys that came through. There's only 10 of them. Wow. Right? So the state police. So
can you reiterate that point? Because I think that's like you. I think you just. I don't know if you actually said it, but I think you said the state police was more dangerous than the Proud Boys. There were only 10 of them.
Yeah, I mean they did. Yeah, I think. I mean, you look at it. They have all this military hardware. They've got flashbangs, which are like mini grenades, right? Flashbangs. They got tear gas. They've got guns with rubber bullets. They've got plenty of other weapons too. And so we evacuated on Friday, and I wasn't there on Saturday. I left at 7 p.m. on Saturday. But again, it was like, rinse and repeat, right? Same thing on Saturday. But unfortunately, what happened was they had a late release from Delaney Hall. So they were attending to the person and their family until they were able to safely get them off. And then we're just starting to clean up in the tent to leave, and then got caught in another one. But this time they really got caught. Like, they were actually huddled in the tent for a while. They were firing tear gas canisters over our tent, flashbangs over our tent. So, and then at one point, people did run to get out. But we didn't know where two of our people were for at least 15 minutes. And that was really scary.
Yeah.
And then one of our members got caught in the tear gas and ended up having a breathing episode and had to go to the medic's tent before she could actually leave the site. So, you know, we're not gonna leave the tent. I mean, we will evacuate it when we have to, but we have to be there. We have to be there for the families. They're still coming that want to visit. Visitation has started again, and people are being released. Even through all this chaos, people are being released. There was a man who was released just yesterday who had been in medical isolation for 130 days. And they finally released this poor guy. And they wouldn't even, he's unable to walk, right, at this point, because it's
a wheelchair.
Yeah, he needed a wheelchair. When he went in, he was walking with crutches, which they took away from him. But his condition deteriorated, so now he needs a wheelchair. But they would not give him a wheelchair. His family had to supply a wheelchair in order for him to get out. So anyhow, but that's but like I said, we have to be there for the people who are being released, for the people who are coming to visit, because they're desperate to see their families, and people are in danger trying to get through what's going on there. And the place, by the way, right now looks like the DMZ based on what Geo has done to the place. They've got concrete Jersey barriers all around the front parking area. And then on top of the Jersey barriers, they put like another 6 to 8 foot of chain link fence. And they put this all around what we call the cattle pen, which is the metal structure, outdoor shelter that they make people stand in before they go in to see their loved ones. So now these little kids who are going to see their parents in detention have to stand inside of both a cattle pen and a dog cage.
How humane.
Mm-hmm.
How humane.
Yep. But the other thing too is, I mean, it's important for us to be talking about what the state police did. This is the violence of the state. The violence of the state shows itself in the state police. It shows itself in ICE. It shows itself in Delaney Hall. But we need to remember that while they're pepper spraying and beating us outside, there's cameras rolling. There's no cameras rolling inside, and they're doing the same thing inside. People are getting beat and pepper sprayed. There's a man in there who lost the vision in one eye from a beating, and they will not send him to the hospital. So there's other people. They broke somebody's nose the other day. They actually came into the unit, 40 guards with batons and pepper balls, beat and deployed pepper balls, forced everyone into their rooms, pepper sprayed their rooms, closed the door, locked it, and shut off the ventilation.
See, those are the stories that are not getting out anymore.
That's right.
Bradley, you were there as well, right? Like that night. What happened that night? What did you see? Bradley, are you there?
Bradley. You look like you might have.
You're on mute. You look like you're nodding your head.
Okay, I'm sorry. I can't hear Mr. Austin for some reason. I can hear everybody else but Mr. Austin. I have it set up on my thing, but it's lagging the live. So
Well, Mr. Austin definitely wants to be heard. I'm gonna tell you that.
That's okay.
So
You
if
just
y'all
ask
ever
him the
want to
question.
repeat
It's
something that
just what
Mr.
happened.
Austin
Yeah.
says,
Just ask him what happened.
What got you down there? What did you see? What did you witness? Were you harmed? What did you see? Share with us your own take on your own experience at Bradley Hall.
okay, so at what was it? I think I came on Friday, probably was my first time being there. So that's when like or my first time being there for like a while. I started coming like last year when they first opened around May last year. But after the hunger strike had started, my first time I think was on Friday, and I think that's when the state police were coming. So I remember getting there, seeing the state police there, being like confused, like, oh, what is going on here? And then I was there kind of like there was this reporter that was talking to one of the state police, and the reporter, he was like from like he was what is it called? There was a lot of reporters. That was the first thing that I noticed. It seemed like half of the people that were there were reporters at like when I arrived, or press. He was what is a contractor reporter type person called? Anyway, he didn't work for like a
Freelancer.
particular news
Freelance.
agency. Sorry? Freelance. Yeah. But anyway, he covers like a lot of protests and stuff. So we were talking to one of the state police officers about like them being there. They're giving us like the basic line, like, oh, we're here to protect y'all. Mikey Sherrill sent us here because somebody's foot got run over by a truck, which the reason that person's foot got run over by a truck was because they got pushed into the truck by ICE agents.
That's right.
Not because of any other reason. So they're telling us that, and the press person, because he's been to a lot of these types of things, he he was like he could kind of see that they were not going to be there peacefully like the entire time, and he was pointing out that he could tell they had these bags on the side of them, like and he was like, those are gas mask bags. So like he could see kind of what was already going to happen, because like they don't usually always have those like equipped to them. So they were prepared from that point. And then when I think Kathy had mentioned it before, they pulled up in that car and made the announcement, everybody has to move southward in 15 minutes or you're risking arrest, you're currently trespassing, and all of that. And it was kind of like, okay, for like right before y'all were all literally telling us you're here to protect us, you're setting up this designated free speech zone, which of course made everybody mad, because what is a designated free speech zone? And but then all of a sudden it's like the script has flipped, and they're telling us to leave within 15 minutes. And it was like the instructions were very unclear. And then I started talking to some of the police officers, because I'm on my electric bike, right? So I can like escape when I need to. But I was like, I'm going to try to figure out what's going on. And one of them that I was talking to, he barely knew what the exact orders were even. Like they seemed very disorganized. Like I was asking one, I was like, why are y'all like telling us this, like with the threat of being arrested, rather than just trying to tell us first? Like, because apparently I was like, first, why are we getting pushed off of the street? Some of them were saying like, oh, it's because we were blocking traffic, and like the businesses or whatever on the street were calling. But we weren't blocking traffic. The traffic wasn't blocked until the state police actually got there. They blocked off both sides of the road, and then people were out there, and people didn't go inside of their little cages for the designated free speech zones because they thought it was absurd. But I guess that was what they were told from whoever gave them the order to now bring out the riot police on us. So they said that. I was asking them, they seemed confused. Like some of the police, when I was asking them, like, what exactly does it mean southward? Do we just go down a little bit? Do we have to go all the way off of the street? They were asking each other for clarification, but all the while they're still making that same threat. We're going to come and we're going to arrest people and push y'all off. And then it's like Kathy said, you see the horses in the back, you have the people with the plastic shields, and they're like chanting and everything. It was kind of crazy. And then once the first like
yeah,
once the first like sound grenade or whatever, the things that they shoot into the air and like pop and like make loud noises go off, I'm like, oh, it's really about to go down. And then I start seeing, at first I was kind of like just hanging around kind of on the side on my bike and everything like that. Then I start seeing them shooting, like you could see the smoke grenades or whatever, like that have tear gas in them, like flying through the sky, and then they hit the ground, and I'm like riding by, and then I catch some of it in one of my eyes, and I'm like, it starts like tearing and stuff, but it wasn't that bad. Then I like ride all the way down, and then like all the way at the end of the street, it's like a few state police, and it's like peaceful, like completely separated from the rest of it. So then I ended up talking to some of them a bit about it. But I think one of the things that struck me about that day and that moment in particular was them bringing up the fact that it was blocking traffic and everything like that, and that people, like the businesses and stuff, were complaining. I think that that's an important factor to keep in mind, because it shows, you know, why things get done, who the police are there to protect, and what the priorities of the state are. And it kind of, something that I heard about, like, at least in connection to Minneapolis and everything that went down over there, was that after, you know, the folks like, I think, I forgot who, Alex Preddy or Renee Good, who got killed first, but there was like a general strike, like a one-day general strike that happened in the city. And then once the other person got killed, there was like a whole bunch of CEOs wrote a letter, an open letter to Donald Trump saying, like, you gotta figure out what you're doing about this, because at the end of the day, their pockets were hurt. And I just thought that that was something that I could kind of see, like, a similarity in that. Of course, in this case, it wasn't something that was actually beneficial. It ended up in violence being perpetrated against us. But I think that's something that, it's not a confirmed connection. I'm not saying that I know for sure that it's because like businesses were calling at the time and trying to open the street back up. But I think there's definitely a
Secondary
connection there.
effect by virtue of the power of people's protests.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting observation, sir. Right, and in the few minutes we got left, what's happened since then, y'all, and what needs to happen? And I want to apologize too for Mussab. Mussab had a connection issue that he couldn't resolve. He was trying to get on, and he is good people, and we'll try and get him back on. And we want to keep this conversation rolling, you know, because strike ain't over. This is what, day 13. What day is this? Y'all are muted.
Hello? Are you, all of you muted?
Yeah, but the strike is continuing.
It's,
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
it
it's-
started like Friday
Yeah,
before last, right? So
Yeah,
Straight
this will be 14.
Right. That's the 13. Yes, thank you for clarifying. So how y'all-
I know I'm just joining you, but and y'all may have said this already. I just wanted to say, Ryan, last week after it was like so peaceful, as soon as we shut everything down, everything just went like, I was like, wait, Ryan just said everything was looking peaceful. That was just my observation. I wanted to state that.
that you give me a segue into something. You saw me recording that and the audio and all that. Nobody once ever told me to go inside of any box or anything like that the entire time I was there. So anybody who showed up and didn't hear that announcement didn't even know they were supposed to be in any kind of free speech zone. So like, that's not even reasonable. You had probably dozens of people who never were told anything. And then they're saying, oh, all of a sudden everybody's got to leave because you're not in the right box. I didn't know which side of that you were supposed to be on. Nobody was giving any direction.
Ryan, I want you to take a step back too, because I want everybody to appreciate the labor action, the labor solidarity action, because you and I had been talking back and forth about, you know, how much labor is there and how much labor is not there. This is a hunger and labor strike, right? So the labor that did show up, this should be appreciated. I want you to share about some of that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we have had a picket, or depending on whether it's large enough for a picket or whether it's just kind of a witness thing, for quite some time. I think we're approaching a year of that on the one Sunday a month. But this one, obviously, everyone in the area had heard about what was going on down there, and there was a lot of folks who wanted to come down and support. So we had, it's really hard to tell how many people were there. It was probably over 100, but a lot of people who were in the crowd nearby also joined. So it looked really large. I don't know how many people we brought out or not, but it was a lot of different unions. My unions, health professionals and allied employees that represent folks at Rutgers, Rowan, and University Hospital in Newark. But there was the Newark Library Union. There were some rank and file members of the Newark Teachers Union. There were folks from PSC, Professional Staff Caucus at CUNY from New York City, and OPEIU, which I'm blanking on what the acronym stands for. Folks from that. There were some DSA folks. So it was a pretty large coalition of people. It's been kind of gathering steam over the last year, but this is I think the largest one. Oh yeah, there you go. Bradley's coming to you. We had a Teamster from New York City, so we're trying to make more connections, and the few people from each union are gathering more folks from each union, picking up.
Kathy, what do we need for more faith leaders?
Yeah, we definitely need more faith leaders. We are trying to get more faith leaders down there. I was there yesterday. We had probably 6 or 8 rabbis and praying. We were praying last Saturday. We're going to try and get something going on Monday, but we're trying to organize faith leaders to be there much more often, even possibly around the clock. What's happening is people have done an excellent job mobilizing folks to get out, which has been putting pressure on the facility and ICE and everybody. But the problem is that nobody's been organized, and mobilizing without organizing is not a good idea. So,
what does that mean?
Huh?
What does that mean? Mobilizing? You said mobilizing without organizing is not a good idea. Let me just see if I heard it right. Mobilizing without organizing is not a good idea. What do you mean by that?
So political and you know who I learned that from?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I learned that from Junius. I learned it from Junius Williams.
Okay.
I was on retreat with him in Pennsylvania when everything started to go south at Delaney Hall, and I left to come back. But the thing is that you can get people out in the street, but you need to get them moving, all pulling in the same direction with a purpose and a cause. So we got a whole bunch of people out there, going it solo, and not listening to anybody, any direction. And there really isn't a whole lot of direction being given. So what needs to happen at this point is that people
unity and discipline is key when you putting people in the street like that.
I'm like, yeah, we don't. I mean, you guys know you don't go in the street with just anybody, right? You go in the street with people you trust. Right. You go in the street with people who have your back, because otherwise people are going to get hurt. And right now people are getting hurt, and we don't want people getting hurt. There's, we can go out there and really protect each other, and have a solid message, and all be pulling in the same direction, and uplift the voices of the people inside. The problem is right now is that the voices of people inside, they're already inside a tomb, right? In that prison there, right? Everybody who's incarcerated is inside a tomb, and nobody hears their voice. Mm-hmm. Right now, they've got a chance with all these people outside. We could all be uplifting their voices, right? Exactly. But right now, with all the media covering all the violence that's outside, it's like we're shoveling dirt on their grave.
Do you think that's deliberate? Like we had a conversation in the first part of the show, and even when we brought the deputy mayor Keesha in, who directs the Office of Violence Prevention, who is down there now, right?
Yeah, I saw her last night.
They said that there are a lot of provocateurs who came in. There were a lot of people being arrested from out of town. How do you see that issue, right? Like I saw a video where a woman was pleading with the various protesters to not push against the police. It was like, that's not what we're about. That's not what we're trying to do. And she gets, basically shouted down. We saw a video where Reverend Roundtree was out there as a faith leader and was getting, shouted down. We the people who are trying to be a buffer between police. Like I know that the reason why the Newark police got involved, why the Office of Violence Prevention got involved, was to push back on the state police being there,
Yeah.
right? And have a way to deal with order, keeping order, but not in as militarized way. How do you see, and what is your opinion about the people who are coming in and causing certain types of escalation?
Well, first of all, I don't think it's helpful for us to be like, and for Mikey Sherrill in particular to like be emphasizing, to basically be parroting right wing talking points. I don't think that's helpful.
Thank
So to be
Explain. Break that down for us.
Yeah, sure. There's provocateurs in the crowd. There's probably provocateurs in every big crowd, right? But I think they also need to recognize that people are angry, right? People are really angry, and they should be entitled to their anger, right? But the Nobel Peace Prize winner Lama Gaboe, she said, "Anger's like water. It takes the shape of the vessel you put it in, and we need to find a vessel to put this anger in, right? And if we find a vessel to put this anger in and direct it, then it's way more powerful, right? The love that we have for our neighbors, a righteous anger combined with the love that we have for our neighbors is stronger than anything they can throw at us."
Thank you for
Can
that.
I say something to that too, Zaid?
Yeah, I said that they in the background. Go ahead.
I was told to go back where I came from and that this is not the state to try this kind of thing in. I lived in the city of Newark for 22 years, and they mocked me when I told them that and said, "Oh, you wouldn't be pronouncing it that way. This is the Newark police, mind you." So, the police force that was allegedly there to keep me safe is telling me to go back to Lord knows where. And, I know a lot of the people on the ground who are out there, and they are either from Newark or the surrounding area, and they care very deeply about this. And some of them, there is a disagreement about tactics among some of these groups, but I think it's a very small minority of people who are there to fight for no reason other than to fight. And, for better or worse, I mean, I don't like violence, but I don't know that the national spotlight would be on this if there wasn't all of this going on outside of there. Ideally it would be better to have everything be entirely peaceful, but this is the federal facility. There are people coming in from all over the place. You could get transferred here from anywhere in the country. There's people from New York City who are getting sent here, and people's family are from around the country. So folks who are coming to be upset outside this place can be from anywhere. This is a false narrative that they used against Martin Luther King and all sorts of other people, and it's nonsense.
Same
Because
language.
Martin Luther King was called an outside
Same
agitator.
language.
That is what he called. I mean, literally, he was called an outside agitator, and Nick would go from place to place, and that is one of the things that they would say.
And I don't know if you guys have brought up already that I was listening to Congressman McIver question Mullen, and I know he had come out and made a statement early, but in her question, she had asked him if he had ever been there, and he has not been there. Yet he has made some strong statements about that. Did you see that questioning, and how do you feel about that?
I did not see that questioning. I did see Ana Lilia Mejia's questioning of Mark Wayne Mullen, and I really appreciated it because she was focusing on the people inside as opposed to the politics of it.
Yeah.
However, Congresswoman McIver, that point actually also points in the direction of Mark Wayne Mullen not keeping his promises, because he also promised Senator Andy Kim that he would come and visit Roxbury, right? And meet with people there, about the mega prison that they want to put up there in Roxbury. So, I mean, we know that ICE lies. So now we're just finding out that the guy who runs ICE lies, but we should have known that, right?
Yeah, the
LaMonica
president.
also was reading some statements from folks who were inside. It appeared to me. I saw clips of it, so I thought she did a great job of looking these things up.
Right. Yeah, she did. I know that's part of the question. She had read about doctors not being there, about a mother that lost her child. It was a very impactful question. Period.
The concentration camp conditions. That's what we're talking about. Clear about that. Let me just raise two things, and just to try and tie this up as we begin to wind down.
And did Bradley have something to say too? I thought he said something. He had something to say.
Oh, Bradley.
Go ahead,
Did
Bradley.
you say you wanted to say something?
Yeah, it was more on the whole thing about like outside agitators and all of that. I've noticed it's a thing. It's some people that I actually I know. I remember when, like, that first day there was like some conflict between folks that were trying to, like, the first day I came was when there was a particular person who was being targeted and his wife was outside of the facility
Martin
and everything
Soto.
like that. Yeah, Martin, or Martine, and
His wife has been a force too, by the way. Gabriella has been a force.
Yeah, she was, yeah. And that day, for example, it was kind of like there was some conflict because, certain folks were trying to, one, make sure that he didn't get moved. That was, of course, that was the main focus of people coming out there initially, was to make sure he wasn't transferred, because they were targeting him and trying to transfer him to the Elizabeth Detention Center and everything like that. But we were trying to do it in a way which also didn't hurt the chances of visitation for families for the next day and things like that. So there were some like conflicts that exist there. And I mean, for when I'm speaking to the outside world, everybody that stands against ICE is who I stand against. Given that, I think going back to what we were talking about earlier, it's not enough to just mobilize without being organized, right? And I think making sure that more people from Newark actually know what's going on in their city, what's happening right here is something that is very important. Tomorrow, I'm hosting like a little discussion in the West Ward, trying to get more people in Newark to know about what's going on, just trying to update people about what's going on at Delaney Hall.
Make it plain, son. Where and when?
So it's going to be 3 p.m. tomorrow at the Newark Water Coalition office on South Orange Avenue. It's like right near West Side, basically.
Okay.
But today, for example, I was flyering in Vailsburg Park for the discussion tomorrow, and I just in a little bit of time flying there, I met so many different people, reconnected to people. I think that first part kind of highlights one of the biggest issues that we're facing right now when we're dealing with all these struggles, and that is isolation. Because almost every person that I talk to, they maybe didn't hear about it, but if they did hear about it, they didn't know what was really going on. They didn't know that other people really cared, right? They didn't know that there was other people to fight with against something this atrocious that's happening right in our city. And I think that's an important thing, and an important path forward that we need to take, is actually engaging the people here on the ground in Newark. And one of the people that I talked to kind of randomly, he works at the FedEx, which is on the corner.
Right over. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right. He works at the FedEx. So I was asking him, I was like, oh, do you know what's going on with this detention center and stuff? He was like, yeah. At first he was kind of being like, not telling me too much, but he was like, yeah, I heard about it. And then all of a sudden he's like, yeah, I work at the FedEx. I've been seeing what's going on. So like, what's happening with y'all? Or like, yo, what's the update? Are y'all winning and stuff? So I feel like that's something that's really important. And like back to what I was saying earlier, you know, right now we're kind of in a phase where, because we're not as organized as we could be, a lot of what we do has to be begging politicians to change things for us. I think if we're more organized, we can flip the script and we no longer have to beg for change. We can make the change happen ourselves. Because imagine if the FedEx was organized. Imagine if the people at so it's FedEx on one side, and then it's the NJ Transit on the other side. And then you got trucks coming down constantly. Imagine if all those people were on the same page, organized. At that point, we're not asking for changes. We're just shutting stuff down, and the change is going to have to happen.
And New Yorkers should understand too that place, Delaney Hall, has been there for 20 years, right? It's been there for 20 years, and it's in Chemical Corridor, right, next to the county jail. Delaney Hall used to be a halfway house, right? It's been ICE detention. It's also been used for ICE detention on and off since 2007.
Right.
So, but you know, tracing it back, like that place, that whole property is contaminated. That whole area is contaminated. It's like, you know, right by the largest Superfund site, one of the largest Superfund sites in the entire country, right?
Every smell.
And it that is where everybody sends their garbage, right? Their waste. And that's where they are putting people, which tells you what folks think of the people in both of those facilities. And that's something we really have to fight against. The other thing is Geo Group owns other facilities in Newark, other facilities in New Jersey. And the state of New Jersey is doing business with Geo. They are doing business with Geo for halfway houses. They're doing business with Geo. They're using BI, right? The company
so the state of New Jersey is using the private prison company Geo?
Correct. Yes. They're using them. They're using them for reentry services. They're using them for ankle monitors. So
the
BI
people who are literally allowing human rights abuses, like legit Amnesty International level human rights abuses, where they need a hunger strike to respond to, they're doing just normal business with the state.
Yeah, they always have. They always have. So
Mikey, tell us that. Donnie, you gotta go talk to them people. You gotta go talk to them people.
I know we're coming to the end of this segment. We have some stuff coming on after this, but I just want to ask a brief put Bradley on the spot. Bradley, do you believe voting is necessary? Do you vote? Do you encourage people to vote? I'm asking. I always ask that to people of your generation, and also we've had some of these conversations before about the nature of politics and organizing and what you're organizing for.
Take 15 minutes out your day.
You know what you got there.
Take 15 minutes out your day, one time a year, and go vote. The real question is what you're doing with the other 365 days out of the year. That's how I see it.
Nice.
Yeah, to put it simply.
Did you like that answer, teacher man?
I did like that answer because it was.
I'm also a teacher now too. That's my coworker right there.
Right, exactly. We are colleagues. We are colleagues now. He was once
I just want to put a pin on two things.
And a good teacher who has debate training.
Yes. I got something coming for y'all too in November. I can't wait till I can announce it. I want to go out with 2 points. On the inside, a fourth letter was just released from the inside. Been trying to amplify that, and we also put out a statement calling for all the charges to be dropped on all those people who were vamped on by New Jersey State Police. Right? So there's some other stuff that we got to do inside and outside. So it's been a powerful segment. We're going to continue this as long as we got to continue this conversation until.
Yeah, and just real bluntly, we kind of want you back on next week, right? Like this is an ongoing thing. I know you were on last week. You're on this week. let's just keep it open and see what your availability is next week
Let's
when
get
we continue
Gabriella.
this
And,
segment
and,
and add some folks.
and Hakeem, can you close out by asking the question?
Absolutely. Kathy, Ryan, Bradley, this work that you do is oh so important. And I like to think that every superhero needs theme music. So what we usually ask the question, what hip hop artists are you listening to? But it doesn't necessarily have to be hip hop. What artist, what group supplies the soundtrack, your theme music for the work that you do? What are you listening to?
I rattled off a few of them last week, but I think in particular this one, if you haven't heard My Petition by Jill Scott, it's sort of like a heartbroken love letter to America about not letting grievances be addressed and whatnot. It's worth a listen. I don't know if it doesn't amp you up exactly, but it's I think it's perfect for the time.
Well, Mr. Jill,
Whatever puts you
Sometimes
in
you
a
gotta
state of
calm
mind
down,
to
so
do
that's
the
all
work.
good too.
That's what's important. Kathy.
I'm going to give a shout out to the Peace Poets. Yeah, and because they actually wrote a piece for us back 2011, I think it was. We were trying to shut Delaney Hall down then. And it was called "You Cannot Detain Our Spirit."
That's
and
right.
if you go look that up and listen to it, it's just as relevant today as it was then.
Yeah.
They have also been a fixture in the Stolen Lives project that we do around police violence, and they have lifted that up there. So y'all can follow the Stolen Lives on YouTube, and you'll find that if you don't find it directly from Peace Poets. Right on to that. Right on to that. Know them well. Bradley, what say you?
I'm gonna have to put my my fellow countryman on. It's a Liberian man named Monrovia. This song called Heavyfoot. Y'all gotta look it up.
Nice.
Heavyfoot. It's a protest song.
And can I put you guys on to a song called Commentary by myself? It's an anti-ICE song.
Oh, we got to lift that up.
Yeah, absolutely.
You ain't said
Hakeem
nothing.
Green.
I'm looking for it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So thank you for coming on again this week. I really think it's important that we have these conversations. I love our show because we have different segments and different perspectives on the exact same thing going on all night, right? And I think that these voices in the same space is always important, always very important. So thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
We'll be in touch. I'll be in touch for sure.
Yep, and keep open next week if you can. Take care.
Thank you guys and be safe.
Yeah.
So Zaid, I put that commentary is only available from HakeemGreen.com.
Okay, all right, because I was looking for it.
It's a free download.
All right, straight ahead.
Yeah, so if you go to HakeemGreen.com and hit music, you'll see new music. You'll see commentating on the.
All right.
And Bradley, stick around for this next segment. These next two segments, we're gonna put Marquise Akil Lewis on. He's been here for the last few weeks. He ran a really good campaign for Essex County Commissioner. He came on just to say thank you and hang out. He's a very frequent guest on our show. He's a frequent closet co-producer on the show because he's always getting us guests and bringing them on. So we wanted to give him a shout out as well and come on just to say thank you. Marquise Lewis, can you hear us?
Can't hear you.
Oh, maybe you can't hear me. I think that thing's going out, so where they can't hear me.
Marquise, who ran an independent. Marquise, can you hear me? He can't hear any of us.
I was trying to not blast Hakeem stuff while he was talking.
All right. So all right. So when he comes in, we'll jump in. All right, Hakeem Green, man, Newark's ambassador to hip hop. How are you?
Peace,
How
family.
are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Good. Got a smile on my face. I'm good.
Okay. All right.
But I have to say that previous conversation about Delaney Hall, I wish I would have got here earlier to peep that whole build. But that's like one of the most important things happening in this nation. And we saw the leadership in Newark, New Jersey be the first to step out front to challenge what was going down. So, I'm not on the ground to know the particulars, but I love how we come together to organize and push back against oppression.
I think Marquise is on. I just want to give him a chance to shout out and shout out and thank you, man. So
I told him to go out. I called him. I called him and told him to go out and come back in.
Okay. All right. So talk to us, man. First, thank you for coming back on the show again. We're always honored to have you on. And I know that you put out some stuff that was kind of cool about and in a very interesting take on Jay-Z. Before we do that, we're going to see one more time if Marquise says come in and just say the thing.
And I'm gonna go put my blowout on real quick. No, just kidding.
All right. So Marquise, can you hear us?
I hear you now.
All right. So I know you wanted to come on and tell the people thank you. So we're just giving you a chance to come on and just give a shout out.
And with 20,000 plus votes coming in for Marquise and still counting.
That was impressive, man. That was impressive. Because that was a solid showing. You got close to 20,000 people to come out and vote for you.
That's right. Independent campaign doing it. That's what's up.
That's what's up.
Yes, I was in Livingston saying, and when people said he did, Marquise was like, "No, I'm not a part. I'm doing this by myself." I was in Livingston. I'm like, "Look at this literature I see in Livingston."
Yeah. So I just want to thank everybody. It was one great campaign. I think I could tell everybody now. But it was a small group of us. But we was able to do it, no money. My opponents had a lot of money. They had a lot of mailers. They had a lot of ads going on. I didn't have no money. I was my campaign manager. I was my fundraiser. But I was out there doing the ground. So what I'm grateful for is the 20,777 people that cast their vote for me so far. It was real groundwork. It was about knocking on doors, talking, connecting with people. I really worked for my votes. Other people had to use money to get theirs, but I used real connections with the people to make sure that they got the message about transparency, accountability, and fairness across Essex County. And I just want to thank you all for your support. Thank all the voters in Essex County. Thank you to the unions who were bold enough to stand with me when others wasn't. And those who did not play games, but really stood by a young man from Newark, New Jersey, whose vision was only to serve the people, no other agenda, but to make sure that we have a voice at the table.
Hey, man, thank you. We appreciate you. You ran a good campaign. I'm sure there will be others. I'm sure this is not the last time that you run for office. Wasn't the first time you ran for office. I know that you were a board president for a number of years. And welcome back on the show. We'll see you again. Quite often.
It's like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'll be back.
And Marquise, just let me say, and before you leave, and I hope you really pat yourself on the back, because there are established candidates that ran for re-election. You got more votes than they did. They have been sitting on the commissioner board for a while, and those that had establishment behind them. And you did this by yourself, and you got more votes than a lot of people who actually won because they were uncontested. So great job, sir.
Thank you.
Congratulations, my bro.
Thank you.
Congratulations, man.
Now let me go listen to my Jay-Z now.
And great segue. All right. So, Akeem, man. So, Newark's ambassador to hip hop. Talk to us, man. What's going on? You were talking. You have a lot of commentary about what happened at the Roots picnic. So, talk to us.
Yeah, no, I mean it was real hip hop was in the building. Jay-Z is definitely somebody who embodies what we consider as real hip hop in terms of the feel of his music, the energy, the messaging. He's a real lyricist, a real MC, no question. He's been having a lot of detractors, over the last 5 years or so, attack him on various fronts, be it the Epstein files, be it you know, how he does his business and his artist relationships for the artists that are under him. You know, a lot of the rumor mill be rumoring. So he's been dealing with a lot. He got a chance to answer all that in that freestyle that was a part of his performance. And
Let me just jump in real quick. Do you think there's some straight jealousy and all that stuff?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, America indoctrinates us. I think Ice Cube said it best. MTV will have a nuke next year, and it can only be one of us in a room when we're fighting for attention, for that mainstream dollar, that mainstream acceptance, and we go at each other. You know, we tear each other down. You know, we hate to see each other successful. That on top of, you know, people's personal interactions, be it Dame Dash, be it Kanye West, be it Nicki Minaj. People have their own relationships, and we just live in a world that platforms dysfunction. I call it the currency of spectacle. If I can get your attention by throwing bricks at the next man or woman, that's what I'm gonna do. We've kind of been indoctrinated that way, grown up that way. It's something I'd like to see change. I'd also like to see, though, people using platforms to have these types of conversations when we talk about what's going on at Delaney Hall, or we talk about the state of race relations in America, or we talk about the current state of politics, national and across the country, locally. You know, us as artists, especially these mainstream artists, I think could be using their bars, their voice, their talent to kind of highlight that. And, you know, the fact that we're dealing, like, I love the fact that Jay-Z, you don't see him in the mud. And though it's entertaining, right now he's in the mud. And, you know, I want to see him come up out the mud and take his brilliance, directing it at the powers that be. He mentioned that in one of his lines in the freestyle about MAGA. And it's like, all right, you know, that's all, but I want to see you put belt the ass for real, and represent Black people in this war that we're in right now.
You know what, Hakeem? In watching Jay-Z interview, he is very slow to speak. You know, he will, it's in all the interviews I have seen him in, he listens a lot, talks less, and it seems that he saves a lot for this type of for the stage. You know, he doesn't seem to respond a lot in the media or anything, but when he, you know, because it seems he had a whole wide time of, you know, time to get back at different people, or to come back at different people, and he saved it for the stage. Am I a little bit correct on that?
I think he's right. I think he's a strategist in that way. He just doesn't, you know, throw things out there. He's very strategic in how they're placed so he can maximize the effect. And, you know, it's easy to fuel other people's agenda by answering and bickering and going back and forth. Like I said, it's the currency of spectacle. So people are looking for you to answer them back, because then that brings your audience over to them. He's very clever and shrewd on how he, you know, monetizes his actions and his activities and his clapbacks. Like, it has to make sense for him. Even when you look at what happened with Kaepernick, him being able to take the opportunity to land that deal as director of the halftime show for the Super Bowl. If Kaepernick doesn't happen, Jay-Z doesn't have that job. But he positioned himself in a way where...
Can you repeat that?
If Kaepernick doesn't kneel, if he doesn't take that stance, Jay-Z doesn't get the job. There's no need to hire Jay-Z and Roc Nation to produce the halftime show. So Colin Kaepernick's sacrifice is what made the lane open for Jay-Z to take advantage. And take advantage he did. And I think he's been doing a great job with the halftime Super Bowl. But again, it's the halftime Super Bowl. It's American capitalism. It's corporate commercial. It's, you know, it's a balancing act. Within the framework of that, I think Jay-Z's been doing a great job. But I don't want people to lose sight of the fact, if Colin Kaepernick doesn't stand up, that move doesn't happen.
Isn't that like okay, so I'm kind of cool with Jay-Z, how he is, because he's an entertainer, he's an amazing rapper, he's an amazing lyricist. I think he's a good writer, right? I think he's I think that, you know, Kendrick Lamar won a Pulitzer Prize. Jay-Z won an award for being one of the best writers in music. And I think that he is who he is, right? He's a billionaire. He's not going to be critiquing capitalism. It's not what I'm. That's not what I'm listening. I listen to Jay-Z. I love Jay-Z.
Yeah.
That's not why I listen to Jay-Z, right? Like, I listen to him more because of what he did in the freestyle, right? Like, Jay-Z might fund really good things. Jay-Z might do very good philanthropic stuff, which he
His
does.
philanthropy is
Right?
next level. Absolutely.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I think maybe there are some rappers who shouldn't be in politics, and I'm okay with that because they might end up like Nicki Minaj, right? Like they might end up like other people who get it, or Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne do politics. I don't think I want to see that anymore.
Remember, everything is politics. Learn that from our big brothers. Everything is politics, right? And Jay-Z specifically is into politics because his relationship with Barack Obama and how he's used that relationship to further his own career, and Barack has used that relationship to gain him some access and credibility into our community. So he is political. Even refraining from politics is political. It was political when he took the job with the NFL. That was political because, you know, the NFL, I believe, used Jay-Z to help get out of the Kaepernick situation. That's politics.
100%.
So
and I think that,
and last point, and lastly, somebody with Jay-Z's influence, when he says change clothes, everybody change clothes. When he kind of presents himself in a certain way, it does shift the conversation. 444, the album 444 is a great example of that. That was an artistic offering I thought we'd never get from Jay-Z. He gave it to us, and I loved it.
It was a middle-aged, brilliant work, right? It was a work of someone who was established, someone who had done things, someone who didn't shy away from who he was, right? Like, he's like, this is what I'm doing. Jay-Z is like, I've always been a capitalist. Always, right? Like, I've always tried to see capitalism working for us in a particular way. Always.
But it doesn't work for us.
But that's Jay-Z. I'm talking about what Jay-Z's politics is, right? Jay-Z's politics is always that, right? Like, here's what I did, here's how I did it, and here's good luck to you, right? Like, one of his most brilliant albums was American Gangster. I love that album. I love the production, all the other stuff. But the lyrics are amazing when he's giving an American Dreaming, when he's literally giving the blueprint again for how to sell drugs, right? And he's like, but it's not glorifying it. But it's not glorifying it, right? It's not glorifying it, but it's just saying, this is how you do it. If it works for you, God bless. I'm a little sick in terms of he's conflicted in when he's giving this advice. It's not a glorying kind of thing. But one of the things I always appreciated about Jay-Z is that he understands that there's really no difference between dealing drugs and other forms of capitalism. And there are these, when we're dealing with many forms of capitalism, whether it be from cigarette companies to private prisons that we've been talking about in Delaney Hall, to like there are people who are hurt and they use money to cover those things up. Jay-Z, I think, has done a brilliant job, like in the body of his work, at showing that conflict, showing that tension. So if he's not blunt, like Jay-Z is not going to be, Talib Kweli.
No, but that's not where that's. I don't want him to be Talib Kweli.
Right.
I don't want him.
That's
to be,
what I'm saying.
I don't want him to be Talib. I enjoyed the freestyle for what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just, for me, sensitive to the moment in history that we're in, and it's like Roots Picnic, Jay-Z's freestyle. As much as I like it as an MC, it's a distraction to me as a black man, to be honest with you. Like the conversation itself is really a distraction relative to the more important things that are up front with us. It's not like some, no, it's up front and center in our face. Our enemies are declaring war, drawing lines and saying, where you at? And, if we care for the people, we want the people to be aware of what's happening. We don't want to say, okay, well, Jay-Z knows, he's just freestyling. I mean, I get it, but how do we use the moment? Like he kind of mentioned having enemies in the MAGA. He used that in his freestyle, so he's aware. It's just that he got Dame Dash now running jokes, and it's just like it's messy.
Is that the same thing you thought about the Kendrick and Drake beef?
I like the Kendrick Drake beef. I don't even call it beef. I like the confrontation, the battle, because Kendrick changed the conversation. Like Kendrick delivered something in a way that the masses of Americans were able to consider concepts and political theories and ideologies that they kind of shut off from. It was woke culture. But now he's at the halftime show, and you have people having to deal with it. I love it.
And to your point, what you just said, what you said, maybe if Jay-Z would have used, because while Drake was rapping over here, Kendrick changed the conversation to heighten the conversation. So I guess Jay-Z, like you said, he did mention MAGA. In this time of voter suppression and gerrymandering, maybe he could have lent a little bit more bars to that as well.
Yeah,
and maybe we haven't seen the end of it.
I don't want to tell him what he should and shouldn't do. I think I enjoyed the Roots picnic, right? It's just as I'm watching the breakdown of the verses and people going in and deconstructing and looking for the triple meanings and all that good stuff. I would like to see that happen with more important subject matter coming from a Jay-Z or a Drake or a Kanye or something with that's thoughtful, that reaches the masses of people, and we get out of the mud. Like, we're stuck in the mud having trivial conversations about trivial matters, and
they can take it to another level. I hear you.
I'm sorry.
They can take it to another level. I hear you.
Yeah, let's take it to another level.
And it's funny because with Drake dropping those 3 albums, he really didn't come at Kendrick, correct?
I didn't really dig into it. I heard a couple joints off the Drake project. One joint I was impressed with. The other things that I heard, I was like, this ain't really for me. But I get it. Like, I understand why he's this phenomenal artist that's so successful. I understand it. I get it. Yes. But I also seen him align himself with MAGA, or MAGA align themselves with Drake, and there'd be no explanation. There'd be no, with the whole album cover with the symbol.
Didn't he tell him to go to hell? I thought Drake told Ice to go to hell.
Did he? I hope so. Wow.
Yeah, I think that.
And Bradley, jump in. We need you. Jump in, Bradley.
I'm listening.
Okay.
You're like, I don't care. I don't care about this. I don't care about this.
And make sure we get you.
It ain't really even hip hop to me. Not at all. It's not the real poetry the masses need. But you can jump in with that too. I mean, I think that you and Hakeem Green agree a lot on what the nature of hip hop should be. Part of Hakeem's background is that he was offered quite a bit of money to talk about killing black people, and was like, nah, I can't do it. Right? You got to be a little more violent. You got to, you got to use the N-word more, and literally he's been told that.
Bradley, he's a teacher and he's an educator as well.
And he was like, no, I'm not. He literally told Hakeem Green told multiple record companies, you can keep your money.
Yep.
And I will continue to produce music. I will continue to release music. I will release it on my own terms. I will hang out with KRS-One. We'll do some songs together. I'll bring him to Newark, and I'll continue to release my own stuff.
That's right. Absolutely.
Ain't nobody stealing your soul.
So exactly. Right. I have this song, Bradley, called Dysa, D-Y-S-A. Don't sell your ass. Your soul is everything. Don't have integrity, have morals, have values, have a code, stand on it. Dysa. Don't sell your ass.
Straight in. Listen, I got to shout out this too. I see.
But Hakeem, go ahead.
I see the gear that you repping, Hakeem. That he's wearing a press T-shirt, and that's
you see it. You see it, son. You
God, son. Listen, Gaza lost at least 235 journalists wearing identifiable press gear, helmets and all, getting shot at, bombed up, all of that, right? Over 230 journalists have been killed covering the genocide in Gaza. And we do not hear a conversation from mainstream journalists about the abhorrence of what all that means. And just him wearing that one shirt, this 1 minute, he did far better than all of these fake jokers in the mainstream media. I just wanted to lift that up because it's right there.
Well, while the journalists aren't doing, we do have to shout out Dave Chappelle, because he sure enough said it. He's like, "Oh, we worried about the press now," when he ran that line in his last comedy, and when he went over there to do his comedy show, and he said, "Oh, y'all worried about the press?" Yeah.
So that song I mentioned earlier, Zaid.
Saudi Arabia.
Commentating.
Yeah.
Commentating is written from a journalist's perspective.
Straight ahead.
Yeah. So that's we got to understand who's responsible for getting us the truth of the matter, and we have to protect these people and honor these people and lift these people up so we can stay informed. And Bradley talked earlier about organizing. An organization is all about organization, but we have to organize on actual factuals. What's the truth of the matter? Build around that. So that's what the press is here for.
Yes, sir.
At a time where everything has been being compromised, we see the gentleman from the journalist, from 60 Minutes recently left or was fired, and even how the nonstop talking down to journalists in the White House, as we've seen, not most recently this week, when a woman journalist was standing before the person in charge right now, and how he spoke to her and said to her, you need to smile more, as if that's the qualifications for being a journalist.
All of that Trump.
I know that we reached we're a little.
But I got one more question. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I know you're always gonna do that. That's why I got to do that like 10 minutes early. But I know that we are over our time, and I just want to thank all the guests that came on throughout the show, right? So big thanks to Rahaman Muhammad and Alturrick Kenney for another week of Pastrami Over Politics. I like the conversations that we're having about protest and Delaney Hall, and they fit really well together with the entire night in terms of getting different perspectives. Love that we had Keesha Eure on, Deputy Mayor Keesha Eure on, and who's also a Science High graduate, who was also in one of my classes at one point in time. I'm honored, always honored. I was talking to Mia X, the Newark Poet Laureate, who was also in my class at one point. And I was talking about what brilliant people, like I've had the honor as a teacher to work with some of the most brilliant people like in the world, right? Like some of the most brilliant people that you are going to meet have run across my classroom. And they go out and they do amazing things.
Crazy.
So, right. Well, no, but amazing people. So big shout out to Deputy Mayor Keesha Eure. Big shout out to the different guests that we had on talking about
Lucy James, organizing from a wheelchair. She's an amazing little sister. Very proud of her.
Oh, absolutely.
Ryan Novoselsky, labor organizer from at the hospital and keeping it real the way he always does. Kathy OLeary, brave Christian soldier, right? Making noise and taking care of people down at Delaney Hall, right? Mussab Ali, we had a tech issue with him, right? We couldn't figure that out, but we'll try and get him back.
Right. And I was going to add a big thanks.
Some love.
And I was adding a big thanks to everybody who came on and Bradley as well. And we want to get you back on next week. I think it's really important to continue covering what's going on at Delaney Hall. I think it's important to have their voices on here as well, talking about even some of the reactions they were getting, like, you don't belong here, why are you here, outside agitator. I think that those things have to be a part of the larger conversations that we have, especially for those of us who believe that that political solutions have to be a part of the issue. we also have to understand that part of the way that the politics we are able to do the political things is through like mass protests, mass movements, right? Like those things can help breed other things, uh, so that you can ultimately do well, right? Because the opposite is that if that other people who get in power, who are literally wanting to do a second reconstruction, right?
Crazy.
Like that, like there is a difference, right? There's a
Oh, they
difference in the
want
way
to
that we
overthrow
organize.
a second reconstruction.
You said what?
They
They
want
want
to
to
overthrow
overthrow a second reconstruction.
second reconstruction.
Right,
That's what's
right,
happening.
right.
And
So
Jonathan, you want to give Bradley a chance to restate his event tomorrow?
yeah, Bradley, talk about your event tomorrow.
Yeah, sure. And I just had a thought going with the when we were talking about hip hop and then also journalism and things like that, just to put out there like the idea of free speech. Free speech ain't free, right? So when we're talking about all these things, it's about who can afford the
Fight for it.
megaphone to
Right
reach
here.
all the people.
Thank
Um,
you, thank you.
so that's why I think it's important for us because what we don't have all that, but we have the numbers. So I think it takes a whole bunch of us doing the little things and being connected to get the real information out there. So what I'm doing tomorrow is trying to get more Newarkers to know about what's going on at Delaney Hall and to talk about, strategize, think about what we can do to support the people on the inside. So that's tomorrow at 3 p.m. It's going to be at the Newark Water Coalition office on South Orange Ave.
Can I ask Bradley, Zaid, if you could share the website with Bradley, and that song "Commentating's" on there. It's a free download.
Yes, sir.
Check it out if you like it.
Put it in the
Please
chat.
share it wide.
Yeah, I tried to put it in the chat. So you make sure y'all see that. Whoever's handling that part, by
Yeah,
putting
HakeemGreen.com.
That's
Also
right.
MadIsmInc.com.
Okay, and we're going to be sharing that
Hey.
on our website as well. So thank
So,
you.
There you go.
All right.
In 24 hours apiece, August 21st, August 22nd is going to be in the South Ward. I can't tell you exactly where yet. The names have been thrown around for performing. We're going to step it up once again this year, ladies and gentlemen.
So
Big
the
shout out to
21st is a loaded day.
Yeah.
You got
Big
George
shout-
Jackson and you got Nat Turner.
Oh wow, yo, yeah. Well,
That's August 21st.
we'll be doing our Black August thing as well.
You
know what it is. You know
know
what it is.
Yep.
I ain't gonna
All
let
right.
you overlook that.
We appreciate that. We appreciate that. And thank you. And until next week, be safe.
Peace.
Straight ahead. We'll see you.